It's time for Type 40 Live, and we are the live stream Doctor Who magazine show here across your view screen on Rumble X, YouTube, and on Facebook too. We're joined by a live chat full of fellow friends, fans, and companions just like you. Whatever your flavour, your era, and whoever's your doctor, there'll be something to set your time rotor spinning. And just like Gatwa, we're not making a quiet re-entrance. He's caused some science friction this week. We'll give you outtakes on that. And we pick up on the saga, the never-ending saga of the war between the land and the sea, lost somewhere in the Atlantic, it seems. Plus loads more to catch up on, including some really sad news of some departures and lots more song and dance. It's the Big Who. The biggest joke. It's Type 40 Live. And we are here in the console room. Hey, console room. I don't know what's been going on here. I've got, it's either being half taken down or half assembled. We'll come to that in a couple of minutes. But none of that really matters, does it? As long as everything is where it should be in a rough sort of approximation, then we can fall in, can't we? And so can you. So can you. Hello, chums. Welcome back. Yes, it's Type 40 Live, and I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks. We'll find out who you are in a moment or two and pick up on some of those comments there, because I know that you've probably got lots to say about all of that and everything else that we've got coming up later on. We've got a panel to bring on too of good eggs and bad wolves. That's what I tend to say lately, isn't it? So they're waiting too and poised, ready for action. Because even though Doctor Who is on standby this year, there's still a lot more to talk about than you think, isn't there? Always something to make a song and dance about, particularly if your name is Gatwa. He can't help himself, can he? He just can't help himself. And neither can we geek out when we see some roundels, a central console, a not really that convincing interior door, and something on the scanner. Between us, we're going to try and make some sense of it. That's myself and the various companions I'm going to bring on right now. And first of all, let's bring in Gary Akers, I think. Gary Akers.
Daniel, how are you? I don't know about good eggs, but certainly scrambled.
You're a scrambled man, are you?
Yeah, well, more scrambled eggs than a good egg. But yes, so we have, that's a model.
It is a model of sorts. It's a very big model, but it's a model of sorts. A home-fashioned console room.
Yeah, I mean, I'll always defer to the classic console room, but honestly, you know, especially the more I've seen of it over the years, I used to love the, of course, the Pertwee console room, because that's what I started with, and I adore the secondary control room from Tom Baker. But I've really come to love Hartnell's control room with all those like extra chambers, like the sides with the TVs and the food machine, the drink machine, and all of that. So that's kind of like climbed up now to my number one.
The further we get past that in years and decades, the more timeless it seems to look. Somehow it's the strangest thing.
I think, you know why I think that is? I think it's because, I mean, I adore the secondary control room because of the whole, I mean, that's drenched in the whole Jules Verne mystique, that secondary control room. But I think the reason why I love the Hartnell control room so much, with the extra things off the side with the chair and the hat stand, which of course was still there in Baker and Davison, but that made it feel more like a home, which is of course what it was. And I think that when you got to later Doctors, the kind of idea that the TARDIS was more than just, you know, a traveling ship, it was his home. And you could tell that because of all the decorations kind of got lost. So that's kind of why I gravitate more to what it started.
When we can see bits and pieces and various contraptions and devices and other areas, but we see them, but we're not able to look at them. It's left to our imaginations what they do. And it doesn't matter what the Doctor Who technical manual says. It's mumbo jumbo, really. We never get to see most of those things working. And so there's a romance about it. There's an allure to that. Whereas, obviously, for the most part, when they were putting the show together, particularly various junctions during the 60s, but definitely from the mid-70s through to the early 80s, it was a case of get that set up, as little of it as possible, and we'll only have on display what the Doctor or Romana or whoever else is going to touch or use at any given time. And I understand the functionality of that, and I certainly liked it enough when I was a kid for the 3 minutes that it's on screen. But it's only now with hindsight that you think, oh well, I wish it could have been a little bit more. It could have been a little bit more.
Well, I mean, of course, I think that the makers of the show want the audience's attention focused on the console in terms of what the Doctor's flipping and all the different, which is it should be. I mean, it's the central iconic thing of the show. So of course, like what's going on the walls and stuff is a secondary importance. But see, that's why then like later on during other Doctors, when we get like the Master's TARDIS or the Ronnie's TARDIS, I remember there was that day a few months ago when we all of us kind of looked at the Ronnie's TARDIS and were spotting all the ways that they decorated it and how different it was. And so I think that can work.
Yeah, I think as long as there's a central console there, people get the kind of visual language of it. It works. It feels like Doctor Who. And as long as we have Charlotte Shields here on Type 40,
of course,
and it's Type 40 Live, isn't it? We know. Hello, Charlotte. Welcome back. Hello.
Hello. No, Gary, I think you're so right. It's those little touches, isn't it? Because what I love also with especially Hartnell's era is if you look at how they structured the stories, they pretty much always started in the TARDIS. And they always ended that part of the story in the TARDIS, bar some examples where they had to be on a planet or anything like that. And it was always like lovely little interconnections of like, if something had happened, if somebody got hurt, if somebody was sick, you would see them injured in the TARDIS afterwards. And I think that just added to, like you said, this feeling that these people lived here.
Yeah.
Because, like, we recently had the missing episodes back. The fact that it opens up with Stephen really badly hurt in the TARDIS. And you see sort of him get Katerina see to him and like try and mop his brow and stuff. That, I think, because it's in the TARDIS setting, it sort of adds to that feeling of he's vulnerable, he's hurt. And it's that safe thing. But whereas if you would have done that like on the planet, it wouldn't have had that effect, I don't think.
Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great, Charlotte, if
Gary, rather than as you get in Star Trek where there's different decks and we've got a sick bay and all that kind of thing for when people are ill, they just whack out a bit of garden furniture.
Yeah, they do.
Wouldn't it be great if at one point they had a companion who was just like a great companion, great to travel with, but just a total slob? And so like all their stuff was like hanging around, on the floor or whatever. It's like just throwing stuff around. The Doctor's getting annoyed because this person can't pick up anything and their crap's just all over the place. That would have been great.
That was one of the things I liked about Adric, because they sort of wrote him as this sort of adolescent who couldn't keep his room tidy, and it didn't get in the way of the drama, but it just added a little to the character. And that sort of, I wouldn't say a family dynamic as such, but there was a sort of, I think it felt like a student house. Felt like a student house sometimes. I think that's how I felt about it. Let's bring on the rest of the panel. Some more, talk about students, some more young ones. But who's the cool person? Who's Mike, the cool person? And who is the Vivian or the Neil or the Rick? Let's find out.
I have no idea what he's talking about.
He's here, and I suspect he will give us the Kirk. Will probably give us the Kirk hello. It's Mr. David Milling. It is. There
I am. Sorry, after a while. Hello, everybody. Yes, I do like the fact that Adric didn't do his washing up. It would, that glass that's just left in the middle of somewhere that's growing things could be attributable to Adric. I like that, Phil. But how are we all? Congratulations to Birmingham, because they won a European trophy last night in the sport, in the football.
Oh. Gary,
Aston Villa won the UEFA Cup. In Europe last night.
Is that sports you're talking about?
Yeah, soccer, Gary. Soccer. They beat a German team, which is always nice. And this week I have mainly been building a Christmas present, which is Lord's Cricket Ground. I've done about a quarter of it so far.
It looks rather spectacular, my friend. Let's have
there
a
you
closer
go.
look.
There you go.
There we are.
There you go. So that's a quarter of
Looks
it.
like a
That's only
circuit.
taken.
It looks like something Commander Data would have been working on in Star Trek, or maybe K9 would have had on the go in the 70s Doctor. I can say, as a citizen of Birmingham, the sporting triumphs that our city may have had over the last few days. Yeah, I think we'd still rather, if we were to get a trophy for something, I think we'd rather it be for bin collections. We're still waiting on that. That'd be quite nice if they would turn up, if the bin man would show out. A squad of 11 of them would be good. Over the entire city would be good. Never mind an actual team of them. So we're waiting on that. So the news of Villa's triumph had eluded me, David, but it's good to have you back, and I'm glad you could.
Thank you. Nice to be back
from your Lego building to join us. Okay, we do have one more person to bring. I'm happy to say. So this person, so he is a real life time traveler and one of our oldest and dearest of traveling companions from across the time zones. I've sort of forgotten what time it is for him, but he looks very mellow. So I think he could be about to take breakfast, or maybe he just has. It's the one, the only, Matt Pott.
Hello. It's at 4:45 in the morning, Dan.
Next Tuesday
morning.
Yeah, on a Friday. Come on.
Happy Friday.
You must be that. Yeah, you caught us
sorry,
about
I've just been to the dentist and I've got a kind of like a new tooth. So if I stumble, it's because I'm getting used to this new tooth.
So if you use any profanities, we can blame it on the new tooth, yeah?
It's not the master's tooth from the special, is it?
Oh, God, I am the master. You will obey me.
I just say, Matt, that was very believable. More believable than the last series.
Oh, God, anything believable. The last few bloody masters. Bloody hell.
Well, talk about believability. I mean, how believable do you think this TARDIS is? Because as the more observant amongst us may have realised, it's not an official screen-used one. So whoever's built this, how do you think they've done? Because this is meant to be a recreation of a mid to late Tom Baker set. So how do you think they've done there, Matt, with this?
That would be my computer room. I would have that as a computer room. Yeah, and that would be my big monitor up on there, and that'd be so awesome. And you know what? I would actually do an entire stream from the console and have it look like us. Yep. And I'd have two cameras based. Yeah, it'd be fantastic.
But I don't understand. What's the point of having a big screen TV like that there if you don't have a lounge chair?
That's a good point.
Oh, I'd stand up. Everybody stands up now. A lot of people stand up for their computer monitors now too, if you notice. That's what I said. A lot of people, they lean on their desk, and they've got a standing desk, and they lean on their desk, and they would watch, they talk on the YouTube and all that sort of stuff. That's what I would do. I'd be just like...
Yeah, I've got a standing desk upstairs.
And I know that I'm on a console. So, I'd be lovely.
I'm with Gary. It needs a lazy boy.
Yeah,
a lady boy
lazy boy with like a drink cup built into the armrest.
Mr. Dudley.
Dan, are you still thinking about that show last week we were talking about? What was it? Lady Boy?
We are not in Stoke now.
There we go.
Okay, we are not
married at first sight.
God, we're going to be another strike. Okay, now this has been built by somebody a lot more handy than I am. But the good news is, for anybody who fancies this, David, you may feel like you could have house space for this if you can get it past the wife. This is up for sale. Kevin Chapman over on the TARDIS Builders Group on Facebook says, any ideas if I can find an owner for this mid-Baker set? Storage possibly being an issue later at some point. Takes a bit of room when disassembled. Unfortunately, it won't shrink. But this entire set is now up for sale. So if you get in touch with Kevin, he could sort you out if you could sort of make room. So do you think you'd be able to get it past the wife, David?
No. Absolutely not.
Well, how big is it?
Well, that's a question for her, but to answer. But I I didn't quite expect to build that question. It does look quite spacious. So unfortunately, I don't think she would appreciate. I don't think she would like. She would see it as probably as a bit too much area to acquire stuff in. I think she would see, if she saw the console, she'll say, you'll just put quote unquote your shit on there for days and just leave it.
I've got to be honest. I sincerely thought this was one of those tabletop models that, Dan, you show off from time to time. That's what I thought this was, but I guess it's not. It's
good for ironing, though. There's plenty of room to get an ironing board in and watch the big screen. So that has its positives.
You could be right. Yeah, it's a full size or near enough TARDIS console room that Kevin has put together. And
wow.
This is certainly a better job than I could. It is a very better job than I could ever do, Matt, I have to say.
I'd love to see it in motion, actually. And I love those lights at the front. I reckon that they move around too, like the old style. You know how they used to have those weird lights for like Lotto and those sort of lights that, you know, they have with the glowing lights and they rotate and you know, they'd be in every newsagents and stuff on the wall. And I reckon that would look amazing, and the lights would blink down the front. And
you could get quite a nice
David.
You could get a quite good glitter ball on that row of lights on the top there, and you could have parties in there.
Bit of Strictly on the telly.
Bit of Strictly.
I want a dish up the top. He has to put a dish up the top, a giant light on the top.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's got to enclose the ceiling.
The only thing that misses, it's missing. Yeah.
So do you think that if Kevin can't find a buyer for this, with a bit of imagination and a little bit of time and some accessorizing, he could learn to live with it or around it? That could be pretty good. If he can't get it past a family member or whatever, it might not be the end of the world. I think you could get a duster around some of that. Absolutely fine. And as you said, Gary, the screen could double up as a viewer of any kind. You can watch whatever you like. You can get Netflix on that. I'm sure it could be worse. It could be worse.
If he's married, it's going in the shed, though.
Of course, he'll want to play Doctor Who on there, proper Doctor Who, as befits. Only Tom Baker stuff, I suspect, will be allowed on the screen. There would be my guess. So with the proper diamond logo here as well, Gary, untainted by recent years and unsophisticated by some standards, with its wiggledy-piggledy lines here and there. But we don't love it any less for that, do we?
Yeah, that's the iconic.
It's part of the charm
right there
of it, really, isn't it?
It is.
If it wasn't perfect, it doesn't look right. I
was in the mood for something old school this time in light of recent comings and goings. And we've got some comments in the live chat. People can't wait to get started, and we'll get to what you've got to say in a moment or two. But first of all, I wanted to look ahead, well, sort of, or to look back in some cases. It depends where you are, really, because for us here in Britain, we've already seen all of this, and plenty of you, I know, all over the world have as well. Last Christmas, we were all treated to this 5-part spin-off from Doctor Who, part of that original Disney co-production commission, let's not forget, which, as of May 2026, is still yet to drop on the Disney Plus app internationally. How strange. Obviously, it's been several months now, 8 months since the Disney and Bad Wolf deal was officially ended, and we had that sort of press release. We told you about this months and months before, but this has dragged on, and date after date has been pushed and bumped. And originally, Disney Plus said that they were going to give it to their customers, their subscribers, in the first quarter of 2026, but that hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. So have you been following this? Gary, I know that as you're in America, you won't have seen this, will you? But but do you think there's appetite for this, or has everybody just forgotten about it?
Yeah, everybody's pretty much forgotten about it. I mean, I can't imagine if Disney Plus over here like drops it I mean, it just immediately gets sucked into their whole content thing. I don't think they're not going to push it. It's a little bit too, I don't know. I don't know if there's like just, you know, corporate grudges that are factoring into this, you know, where it's like, I really don't know. I wish I had something like insightful or articulate to say about it, but all I can think is there's got to be some kind of like ill-feeling corporate grudges at play here.
Oh,
you're muted.
You're muted. There you go.
When a sign does come up and tell me when so when you're monitoring the Doctor Who community, you do notice that there is some frustration concerning this matter with overseas fans. There are people who haven't got VPNs, who don't know how to access it, but are really, really keen to see it, even though the details of the plot have obviously long made it into the sort of the public arena. So I do feel for them. I do feel for them, Matt. I mean, obviously the Disney Plus thing has blown up in everybody's faces internationally, hasn't it? And in Australia, that was a real bugbear in the first place.
Yeah, well, we wouldn't see it for a while anyway, because that's another Disney thing, isn't it? So, you know, it all depends on Disney, and it's not going to happen. And to be honest, I don't think anyone cares. You got to remember too, I think if they did it again, if Disney had to put it on their programming, they may have to do a round of they would have to do a round of they've missed the boat because they would have had to have done a round of interviews, and that's already been and passed.
Yeah.
And so there's not going to be any sort of, you know, like building it up or anything like that, because it's already been done, and they literally farted it out. And so, you know, there's just nothing to win for Disney. It's going to be, this is worse, okay? Just listen to me here. This is worse than the Willow TV series, because at least that aired on Disney Plus worldwide. This hasn't yet. And that's not a good look. That is not a good look. And the more they do this, makes the BBC look more like imbeciles than Disney does. Because I think Disney have actually woken up that we've just put 2 years of drivel that we signed off on, and now we've got this shit burger, and we don't want to give our viewers anything to eat like this, you know? Oh boy, they know that this will just be another massive turkey. Look how well it did in the UK. Did it do well in the UK, Dan? I'm not going to say it didn't. I'm not going to say it did. You are the judge for that, because you watched it and you are aware of all the ratings and everything.
Yeah.
But oh boy, from where I'm sitting, it didn't do well. It wasn't the big massive success.
I think that we covered this at the time as it was airing, and I'd say that the impression that I certainly got is that in many respects, because of the timing, I even aside from whatever we think of the actual show, because of when it was premiered and how it was delivered by Boxing Day and that kind of limbo in between Christmas and New Year, a great many people who'd watched it, and even those of us who kind of enjoyed it for one reason or another, had sort of forgotten about it, because you know what Christmas is like. It's a very, very intense time. So when talk of this sort of resurfaced again in recent days, I thought, oh yeah, that was a thing. And I was even more surprised to see that it's been listed. It is amongst the nominees, believe it or not. Now, this is the first time this has happened since this all new Doctor Who era was established 2 or 3 years ago now. So this great hope, this resurgence of interest in the show, and for high quality global standard television, has sank without a trace practically everywhere. There's been one or two little nominations here and there, but nowhere that really mattered. But here we are, a couple of years on, and the National Television Awards, the NTAs, have listed The War Between the Land and the Sea for an award. So it is up for the Best New Drama, believe it or not. I know. Best New Drama at the NTAs for 2026, competing against A Woman of Substance and Death Valley. I think we've talked about Death Valley on this. That's the cozy crime shows with Tim Spall in it. And Bad Wolf's own series, The Other Bennett Sisters. So, yeah, The War Between the Land and the Sea, Charlotte, up for a Best New Drama at the NTAs.
It hasn't got a chance. I'll just be blunt. Because I can talk for two of those shows.
I haven't seen any of them.
Valley was brilliant. It was funny. It was clever. You had really good acting in that. And it's sort of, like we said, it took something that you thought you were going to get and sort of put it on its head. And The Other Bennett Sister that's just gone out it's actually really good Regency. It's really good with the time period. And for once, you've sort of got the underdog being written beautifully and being acted beautifully. So yeah, it's even just those two shows completely blow like this, the land out, the sea out, the water. I think the problem is with this whole thing is, like Matt said, it's a really bad look right now that Disney have had this for so long and they still haven't put it out. And it wouldn't even be a lot of effort. That's the thing that I sort of come to with this, with the Disney aspect. It wouldn't be hard for them just to not announce it and just put it on the streaming service, just as part of that Doctor Who sort of content they've got. They wouldn't have to have a fanfare, but they haven't even done that. Yeah. So that makes me think. I think they actually do. They are on purpose dragging their heels with this show. Yeah.
I think maybe they've forgotten about it too, to be honest.
Well,
they've moved on.
It could be a bit of A and B here. I think it could be maybe they've forgotten about it, and like the whole Doctor Who thing is so in their like view mirror that they've forgot about it. Or, and we said this at the time, it was very telling that when the news broke about Disney sort of coming away from the deal and not producing anymore, they didn't come out and talk. It was Bad Wolf that had to come out and announce the ending of the partnership.
As I understand it, Charlotte, in any given quarter, Disney Plus look at their slate of programming and sort of look across it at the various genres that make up what they're dropping in any given time. And they still put out a lot of genre programming. And so if they would only do, say, 2 sci-fi or fantasy big drops in the average month at the very most, because those shows would be competing for the same viewer retention, I suppose. And each component show in the schedule has to do its bit to carry the same customers over to get them to watch the next show and the next show and the next show. So I suppose, and this is no reflection on The War Between, because that show actually did, I think it overperformed in Britain as regards ratings and its critical reception. I think people were largely surprised by it, and that it was a quality show that, if anything, did sort of overperform. It certainly did better than I thought it would. But I don't think that's why Disney are either looking at this and memory holding it or not. I think it is simply due to the fact that each series has to have a longer term outcome that works out for them. This deal is now very publicly over, and so therefore they will treat it as filler, whether it's, and I don't think it's anything to do with the quality of the show at all. I think it's a business decision, and that's all. But I mean, will the nomination for an NTA carry any weight whatsoever? Even if it did win, I would argue probably not, because at the end of the day, nobody cares about the Grammys and the Emmys and anything like that anymore. So they're not going to give 2 shits about the NTAs, whoever this chump is hosting it. I don't know. I don't know who this is. I don't know who any of them are anymore.
It looks like Ryland.
They all look like Ryland.
With the
same. They all look the same, mate. So the long list of voting is officially underway, Charlotte. So if you want to go and vote for the others.
Dan, I had a question. So if Disney doesn't air this internationally and just lets it go, is that lost money for them?
Not for Disney.
No, because they've already paid and the deal's done with, so it's not going to lose them any money.
Banked up content for them they can drop at any time, and it will have no effect on them whether it's dropped now or in 6 months. They could potentially sit on it for 18 months, 2 years if they like, and they won't lose a thing on it. I mean, Disney didn't pay for it anyway. This is another common misapprehension in the Who community that Disney paid for all this. They didn't. We've been over this several times before, but now it is simply viewed hours on a spreadsheet somewhere, and they will move it around accordingly. I don't think that this listing will do it any favors. Obviously, if you enjoyed it and if you enjoy voting in these, because all the voting is done online now for the NTAs, you can go and vote on their website, and they whittle it down to a shortlist that's announced in August, David, and then there's a final round of furious voting as well, so people can sort of jump on that. I suspect that the War Between might get sort of whittled away in the process, but even so, I was surprised to see it there, because in all sincerity, I had largely forgotten about it.
Yes, I think a number of people have. I haven't, though, because I think I quite enjoyed it, and
me too.
I thought it was actually some of the better stuff that came out of some of the best stuff that came out of the Disney Bad Wolf deal. And I am more, and it did really well in the ratings and scored very highly with the non-Doctor Who viewing public. And so that has given me a couple of ideas as to why it might be kept back on. Being held back, sorry. And thank you for taking the picture down of Joel Dommett as well. He annoys the hell out of me. One of them is obviously the fact that Disney may be waiting almost for their audience to forget about Doctor Who, if that makes sense. So we've screened 2 seasons of Doctor Who. It didn't go down well with the audience. People didn't really like it. So we'll leave it a bit longer. So then we'll drop this other thing that is associated with Doctor Who and see how that goes with the audience. Or there is a Kramer versus Kramer style bit of bad blood going on between the BBC and Disney Plus behind closed doors that we don't know about, and that they could be just involved in a bit of a spat. But quite honestly, why they would be, I don't know. So I don't think that's likely. That's a likely option. It could be that they are just holding back on it to drop it at a time when they actually feel people have forgotten, or the general viewing audience has forgotten about Doctor Who, because they don't want that negativity to get in the way of this other bit of programming. And the fact that the BBC, as Charlotte said, came out, was it Charlotte Moore who came out and said, "Oh shit, we love you, Disney, but sadly you don't love us." Yeah, and she came out and said, "Oh, we really loved you, but you didn't like us. Parting is such sweet sorrow," and all this, that, and the other. And
it was very diplomatic.
It was like a divorce statement, wasn't it? Read out by a solicitor.
I have wondered, David, in light of the facts of everything that's gone on around the War Between the Land and the Sea, and I say this wasn't a complete disaster by any quarter, but it is still curious to see it listed here. I mean, Charlotte's reaction speaks volumes. All those other shows, I've never seen any of them, but they've created a far bigger splash, ironically, than the War Between did. And people did like the War Between at the time. A certain amount of people did talk about it for a finite period of time because it was only on for a fortnight. But those other shows, Death Valley and the other Bad Wolf show, the other Bennett sister, these shows, people who aren't geeks are talking about these shows. And so I have wondered who has submitted the war between for an NTA? Was it put forward by the BBC or by Bad Wolf as quite an influential independent in Britain? Have they submitted these shows? Because I doubt that it's been sort of voted for, been selected by members of the public up until now, at any rate. So has it been put in there just to display a category of viable new drama on British television that includes a bit of everything, Gary? That's the sense that I get about this. I mean, I think that's how things are done in the States as well, isn't it, with the Emmys and things?
Well, is this the NTAs? Because I know a couple of days ago there was something came online where really anybody, because I know I went on and voted for it, and there was like 15 different categories, and all of them had like 20 different shows, and so I voted for some of the categories. And I did see War Between the Land and the Sea in one of the categories. I think if it was drama, there was like 25 or 30 other contenders. So there's a lot of contenders. I was wondering, maybe this is some kind of big plan to drive sales of the Blu-ray and the Steelbook, because you can't see it anywhere else. You know, because I just checked Amazon right now, it's sitting at on the Blu-ray sellers, it's at number 4,084 right now. So maybe it's some plan to kind of drive that number up, and you know, because that's the only way you could see it.
Well, I'm not really surprised. Sorry, Charlotte. I'm not really surprised it's not been shortlisted or on the list, because it ticks all the boxes. It's a new drama. It was popular. I believe it was the best, if not the second best, drama premiere for BBC in the year. The viewing figures held strong. The catch-up figures were really good. It seemed to be, it didn't sort of tail off much in the viewing figures. Not like it didn't drop off a cliff. Yes, there was some weekly variations, as you would expect, but it seemed to go down well with the public. So I'm not surprised to see it on a short list. Do I expect it to win? No, I expect the other Bennett sisters to win, because it was a marvelous drama. I think it may make the short list, the short list, but it may not. It depends if people go, oh yeah, I remember watching that. That was really good. But I think a lot of content now, a lot of drama. Sorry, Charlotte, I'd completely forgotten about Death Valley until I saw the trailer for Series 2. But I think because we live in a world now where content is so disposable, we tend to forget about things that we don't have that weekly passion for. And like if it's not on every night, like for example, or most nights of the week, like EastEnders, Emmerdale, or Corrie, you know, we seem to forget. Oh, is Casualty still on? Yeah, Casualty's still on. That's still going. Let's give that a watch.
David, there's so much of it as well, isn't there? Not just on domestic terrestrial television or conventional television, but all those streaming platforms and apps as well. There's a new must-watch show being talked up every single week now, and that was never the case 15, 20 years ago, never mind 30 or 40.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I wouldn't be surprised for more to do with Bad Wolf. This has been submitted to sort of say, look, this is the one thing which didn't completely fail. Because we'll get to this later with the shooty stuff. I think there's now an acceptance about how those two series of actual Doctor Who did, and sort of the industry's taken a while to get there, but they're sort of accepting it. And like you said, for the most part, the war between the land and the sea did do actually really good stuff. It's a shame about the ending. But we all sort of said this, Russell's writing the final episode, it will probably go a bit wrong, and lo and behold, it did. But for beyond that, there was some good character stuff in this. There was some tense scenes, there was some good political stuff, so maybe this is sort of the industry trying to say, look, it wasn't all terrible, Bad Wolf's sort of tenure, and they're trying to hold up the one thing which didn't have as much issues as everything else.
The ultimate winner will be crowned on what they're calling the biggest night of the TV year according to the blurb here. It's taking place at the O2 London on Tuesday, the 8th of September, 2026. And practically up until that point, you can still cast your votes. So if you do believe in the war between the land and the sea, or if you just want to give the Doctor Who community and the Doctor Who sort of content a bit of a break and maybe get a little bit of dignity there, if you want to carry on and vote for that or anything, any of your favourite shows, you can do that over on their website. I can't help but feel that this is now prolonging the agony of all of this cluster of failure, really. And despite the fact that it wasn't without any merit whatsoever, I think it's been a dark and disappointing period in Doctor Who's history, which, regardless of whatever comes next or doesn't, a lot of us will simply be glad to close the book on for one reason or another. We'll come back to that in a few moments. Let's go and check in with the live chat and see what people have got to say about this, and if they're going to vote for the war between. What do they make of it so far, or have they forgotten of it? What about it completely? Has it been long washed out to sea? I think I may know some of the answers to that already.
Hi guys, and welcome to Type 40.
Put in Matt. Put in Matt.
Stephen O'Neill, he's in a sun-kissed Wigan. I'm glad that somebody's sun-kissed. Charlotte, again, it's been pissing down here again. It's been freezing cold.
Today we've had horrible cold, and then by the afternoon I had my sunglasses on. So it's been another weird day.
Or maybe that'll work its way to me in the next 24 to 36 hours, David. I'm sort of hoping things turn around a little bit. I'm not exactly a sun worshipper, but, I'm out running every day. I don't get pissed on morning, noon and night. We've got
there are people that pay for that.
There are indeed. Back to the lake.
Most of them live in LA.
Hello, fellow travellers, says Peter Harrington. Matt, we've got Stephen Braddock in too. Hello, everyone. Sun-kissed Gravesend. Bloody hell. Is it?
Wow. Your whole country is sun-kissed today.
Apart from Birmingham, we've been blessed with some sort of football award, and that's but nothing in the grand scheme of the weather. I don't know. At least we're blessed with Funky in the live chat, and our mate Lord Thoth. And we've got Big T too. He's shown up to cheer us all up with his greetings and salutations, evenly distributed, like a human sunbeam there, directly hitting us all there from the Big T. Luke's in the live chat too. Now, Luke is on manoeuvres somewhere. He's either stuck on a train or somewhere doing something, but he is en route, I think. Matron, says Luke, and hey everyone. So I'm not quite sure which point that was. It could have been any point in the last 30 minutes, really, Gary. I think, but it's good to see that Luke's still in one piece and winging his way home.
Who is that?
I'll remind you later. I'll show you a picture of him later.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Woodhouse 122 is late to the party, but we forgive them anyway. And Peter Harrington suggests that Disney have simply released the war between into the wild, a bit like that whale in Star Trek 4. It's just we can just see it disappearing off into the waves. Yeah, you never know. You never know. Luke says have to completely disagree. It did well in the UK. Disney completely removing a show from existence is way worse. So that's what Matt said about Willow. But the BBC will still hold some rights, so negotiate a release elsewhere worldwide. That has happened now and again, hasn't it? That Nautilus show that I understand one streaming platform paid for with Shazad Latif in it eventually ended up on Amazon Prime. So it's that's actually not impossible now. You've mentioned it, Luke. Mr. Matt was happy to see the fish people brought back from the underwater menace to that was in the war between the land and the sea. Yeah, we had somewhat of a confused, didn't we, lineage to the races in the war between the land and the sea. I think they explained it as well as they probably needed to, but they played down a lot of the Doctor Who links too. So have you seen this yet, Matt? Have you caught the war between?
No, not at all. It's just not available here. But to be honest, Dan, it doesn't interest me, even as a just a one-off science fiction show. It doesn't even, those ones, anything recent doesn't interest me. I've just had such a bowl going back to 80s, 90s stuff. And, you know, even now, even the flashier effects, which I can't say that the flashy effects aren't great, because they are. They've obviously spent the money in the effects and everything. Even that doesn't grab me. But then stuff like Aquaman and all that, it all seemed the same. So it's not as, there's not as much variety. So yeah,
I've arrived at that position as well. I have to say, dignity is long lost, according to Pete Venkman. Never mind. Things could, another day, another day, another dawn tomorrow. I hope it works out a bit better for you tomorrow. Or do you mean Disney and Doctor Who and that whole sorry affair? Davey B is in the live chat. Davey B 96. In the words of Dave Lister, I'd rather have the dog food. He's quoting from the greatest.
I got to say, it was really interesting to go in and vote for that, because like I said, there's about 15 categories. You don't have to vote for them all. If you want to skip, like the reality stuff, I would skip because I don't know like British reality shows. So you can skip whichever categories you don't want. And you have to vote for, you can only vote for one in each category, whether it's like, 10 selections or 30. So you've really got to kind of go through them all. I know that I've actually voted for, because I wasn't aware of all the shows that were nominated, but for Best Actor, one of the shows I had seen, which was that Criminal Record with Peter Capaldi, so I voted for him as Best Actor, from that show. So it's really wide-ranging choices. It's an interesting vote to go in and do. So I would suggest that people go do it.
I think they need to go back to categories and genres, and rather than trying to lump them all in together now, because it's ever since Lord of the Rings, they've just tried to make them like mainstream. And I think you just need to have, a proper drama and a proper science fiction series and a proper thriller and all those sort of ones, foreign thing. Now they all put all the foreign ones together, and it's just they all look the same now, and it's
basically it's really
so much better when they had proper categories.
Yeah, I mean, no, you're right. It's really the only, in terms of genres, Matt, I know that there's like reality, there was comedy, there was like talk show, and there was drama. So obviously comedy is pretty central, but with drama, everything that's not comedy is like lumped into the drama, the catch-all drama, whether it's a thriller, a crime, science fiction, whatever. So that's the one category that's kind of like overloaded.
Well, I mean, I also think that they need to start just for equal time, I think they need to start putting the male and the female categories together then. If they're doing that now with other things, why not just have, male and female all in the one category and see who
Some
wins?
awards ceremonies in Britain have done
what the
that.
Brit Awards have done.
I think it was a novelty. I think it was a novelty at first, David, but the impression that I'm getting after a few years is that a lot of the recording artists, in the case of the Brit Awards, are kind of hoping it'll go back to the way it was. And I know they've reinstated things like the Mobos and things like that. I think what people have realised is that things were perfectly fine the way they were, and they've buggered about with things just for the hell of it. In some cases, in other cases, as some sort of virtue signal or show of a belief in some sort of progressivism of some sort. Whereas, if anything, what's actually happened is that it's gone from large groups of people, sort of anywhere between 20 and 30 recording artists or actors or actresses, getting awards which kind of build their careers and their profile, to them going to a group of 5 or 6 people. And so I think it's actually been something that's been ultimately defeated the intended goals. So it's not worked out at all. But we'll find a lot of that gets undone. Thank you to Bill, who's joined us there in the live chat. Good to have you with us again, mate. We've got this user whose name I can't pronounce, but it's good to see you here anyway.
Would you like me to have a go, Dan?
Go on, give it a go. Give it a go.
Go for it.
I don't know if can I say that on
you can't with his new tuff. There we go.
After canal.
Thank you, folks, for being aboard so far. Get your gams round one or two of these. Get stuck in to the rest of it with us. There's a lot more to talk about. Some of it great, some of it a little sad, and some of it exciting and stimulating. You can work out which of this falls into all of those categories yourself. All in good time.
Hello, this is Sue Molden. On behalf of the team, I'd like to say how overwhelmed and extremely grateful we are to everyone who has donated so far. The response has been magnificent, and we are especially grateful to those who have pledged regular donations. A big thank you from all of us at Film is Fabulous.
The fabulous Sue Molden there. Something else that's fabulous and on the way is Doctor Who Podcast Day, and that's coming up. It'll be here before you know it. I think we've got 2 or 3 months until the big day yet again. So we've roped in some glamorous assistants here who are more than happy to. Well, maybe one of them was happy enough. The other two, I'm not quite so sure. But thank you, gentlemen, for your help with that. Now, we're not in the habit here of going on too much about other podcasts out there. We know only too well, but the podcasting community, on the other hand, that's another story. Particularly when its ranks have been particular Doctor Who legend in recent months. So the actor who played Stephen Taylor, of course, Peter Purves, he's having a fabulous year. By anybody's standards, it's been great for Peter Purves in 2026, back in the heart of the Doctor Who fandom for one reason or another. But Peter, in the last, I think he started this around December, January time, he's been self-publishing his own podcast where he shares captivating stories, personal anecdotes, and really intimate interviews with colleagues or friends, people that he admires and has a connection with on one level or another. So all of that is there on the podcast feed. Highly recommended. We've spoken about it before. Now, naturally, Peter Purves has had a really, really long career, of which Doctor Who is only one small component part. But he's more than aware of the huge interest in the series, particularly from a man of his years who knew and worked alongside so many people who are no longer with us, who have this sort of mysterious aura about them. And in the last few days, Peter has published a solitary episode, a special episode, which is just him alone, recalling his entire working relationship with the late, great William Hartnell. It's a fascinating listen that's up on the feeds now, and he takes it right the way from his own childhood when he was being taken to the cinema with his mother and seeing various actors on screen who would inspire him to want to be an actor, and then rolls that into his professional and personal experiences. Charlotte, you and I have spoken a little about this the last few days, haven't we?
Yeah, because I sort of said to you, Dan, I said, oh, do you know Peter's done one about Bill, or he's going to do one about Bill, because he put it on Facebook with one of his own personal pictures, which was lovely, a behind the scenes picture from the Dalek master plan, and like in it, Bill is just smiling his head off. So it's fun just to see a picture of Bill doing that, and then he's smiling next to him, and he sort of said, I'm gonna do one about Bill, and I'm gonna do it very truthfully. I'm gonna talk fully about him. And like you said, because we've not had a lot of interviews from Hartnell himself, he's always got that mystery factor. So to get Peter, who worked with him for that series, and the thing that beforehand, I thought this could be really touching, because on screen, I think those two had such a sort of bond, and you could see that I almost see the first Doctor and Stephen like a granddad and a grandson, or like a father and a son dynamic. And I think that was a lot of those two actors bringing clearly a friendship that they developed. So I was really intrigued what he was going to say about this, and like how he was going to recall Bill in this special episode.
In his show notes, Peter Purves says much has been written and said about Bill over the years. And now, perhaps it's my turn, no holds barred. I only hope I do him justice. This proved to be a particularly rewarding pod to put together. And one question I found myself reflecting upon was this: when did I first become aware of Bill's work? And that is where my tale begins. So has anybody else listened to this? I mean, Matt, I know you listen to podcasts as well, like when you're out and about walking the dog and things like that. Have you managed to catch this?
Yeah. Yes, you sent it to me, Dan, and yes, I did listen to it. I was, to be honest, unimpressed.
Okay.
No. It's nothing against Peter at all. I just feel that in some ways it was a bit, he'd sort of, I don't know. I just feel that, you know, when him bringing up certain aspects of Bill that a lot of people would find repugnant today was unnecessary. And it's the same way I felt when Maureen O'Brien used to talk about Bill, and she'd always put him down and say, you know, he was a nasty man and he was nasty to me. She's changed her tune now. But I just felt it sort of took the gleam off him. And I just didn't really appreciate that. And I felt that, you know, everybody has their quirks. I wouldn't say it was a quirk, but I'd just say, you know, it was the sign of the times, and this is the sort of stuff that would get the modern audience into a tizzy, and it just really, really irked me. It was not necessary, and I would have just preferred stories about Bill. I don't care about his political affiliations. I don't care about what he thought. You know, this is a guy that was in during the friggin' War too.
But Matt, I would argue that Peter's broadcast doesn't dwell on those. That's not the impression that I got.
He brings it up twice.
He doesn't. I don't believe he talks about it in any great length, and I don't think he goes into his politics very often. The impression that I got, I suppose it's in the ear of the beholder. The impression that I got was what he was labelling as social mores of the time and beliefs that previous generations used to hold. I actually think that Peter Purves actually sensitively does a certain amount in rehumanizing Hartnell in light of recent years and conversations surrounding not just Hartnell but various other actors, people like Sean Connery from the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s. He made sure, I got the impression that Peter was shifting focus back onto Hartnell's personal qualities, his strength of character, his fatherly rather than patriarchal energy, his belief in the people that he was working alongside, and also an ability to laugh at himself. I actually found it strangely humanizing and having the opposite effect in my case, but maybe that could depend on what I heard before. Charlotte?
Yeah, just to add, I completely get where Matt is coming from, because when he first got into that, I was a bit surprised he mentioned it. But then I thought about it afterwards, and I thought about the whole podcast. And it's about 30 minutes or so. It's mentioned twice, and then he brings it back up when he's sort of summarising Bill. But for 30 minutes, it's two sort of like bits of the story. He talks about Bill, but everything else, it's him saying how Bill was a very generous soul, how much Bill literally got him the job of Stephen. If it wasn't for Bill, he basically says, I wouldn't have got a full-time companion job afterwards, because it was Bill that went to the producers and basically said, you need to get Peter on as a full-time. And the fact that Bill didn't tell Peter this at all while they were working together, and he only knew about this when Maureen at a Comic-Con years and years and years, I got the impression, afterwards
it seemed to be quite recent.
That, it was Bill that got you the part. And then he talked about how for example, when he was rehearsing for that character that we see on screen, Bill gave him advice about how you're making your gestures too big, you need to be smaller. Bill didn't have to do that. At that point, Peter was a little bit of the chase. He was a side character, but Bill went out of his way. He talked about how Bill would take him out for dinners after they filmed, and he would pay for Peter. He talked about how Bill would be around his house, with his wife and his children. So I think he wasn't trying to attack him, and then whenever he brought it up, he did sort of say Bill was a product of his time. He grew up in the 40s and 50s. I think the term he said was the mores, I think was the word he used, of the time he was from. And honestly, I think what I love about Peter in general is he doesn't sugarcoat stuff. He doesn't sort of give you sort of a false image. And I think he fully wanted this podcast. Because I'm not going to lie, I got teary multiple
Charlotte,
times.
we live in a cynical age, and a few weeks ago there was a movie released about Michael Jackson, and a biopic, and people complained about this, Gary, that it was painting Michael Jackson out to be this sort of magical figure, a near Christ-like figure with no flaws whatsoever. And I think that what Peter Purves does in his podcast is that he accepts that people can sort of judge for themselves, and that maybe if he had have painted him out to be flawless, or have not mentioned any, I wouldn't say dark sides to his nature, but any sides to his character, which could be harder for some people to accommodate than others. If he hadn't have touched on any of that, people would have just have thought, oh, well, this is just some sort of puff piece. This is overly affectionate. I think this is actually far more credible for being a little more even in his summation after all these decades, obviously because Hartnell himself has been gone for 50-odd years, and they worked together 60 years ago. Have you heard this? Is this something you would listen to?
I have not yet, but this is absolutely something that I will listen to, because I mean it's firsthand recollections. I mean, on one hand, I understand what Matt's saying is like if it's presented, as kind of like a tribute, then you expect that it's going to focus on, the kind of the glowing positive stuff. But if it's, presented as a recollection of somebody who's remembering just, the person, the good, the slightly less than, perfect or whatever, to kind of round it out, with no animus, no grudges that you're working through, but just as kind of a, like all of us, we're composed of, flawed, we seek, we strive, but, we're still flawed. And so, I mean, I understand that, how, depending on who hears it, that really anything like that could kind of color the experience, but I think you kind of have to look at it, in the totality. But absolutely, I mean, I adore this era. I'm so glad that Peter Purves himself is kind of undergoing this little bit of renaissance. And I've got to say that the photos that you're using of Stephen from the show are really, really great. That first one that you showed, I think from the massacre, with just the doctor and Stephen sitting there. If I had to pick one story to return, that would be my one, because there's so little that we've known about it. It's a Hartnell historical. It's really more of a Stephen story than it is a Doctor story, but it has this wonderful monologue from Hartnell at the end, which I would give anything to see. So I would, every finger is crossed that at some point, we get to see this story. And the other picture you showed, if anybody didn't realize what it was, with Stephen and Dodo and the doctor, that's actually a shot from Stephen's departure scene when he leaves in the Savages. But that clip is on YouTube, just that little 30-second clip of the doctor saying goodbye to Dodo this one. So that luckily that clip, it's always great that we have the departures and the arrivals of the companions still. So I can't wait to listen to this.
I just look at sorry.
We've got a comment here from Tony Farrell. He says it's a great podcast by Mr. Purves. His memories of Hartnell were fresh, and he didn't shy away from pointing out Hartnell's idiosyncrasies, but stating that Hartnell's views were of their time, and Tony believes that that's fair.
Can I ask a question though? If you look at it as a mirror, okay, and you look at Mr. Hartnell, and you look at the latest iteration of whoever played the Doctor, he's going to protests. He has made his views very well known, as has companions and that, but no one has called them out on it.
I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
But they may very well do so in years to come.
Now I haven't.
They
Okay.
won't.
And
No,
that's
they
the
won't.
thing.
They won't
But-
touch
and
you.
it depends.
wait.
It's the thing is, William Hartnell was born in 1908. Okay, so he lived through the Great War, World War One, the 20s, the booming 20s, then the Great Depression, then a Second World War, the rise of fascism and everything like that. Then after the Second World War, there was the very difficult number of years, I believe 8 in total, before rationing ended in 1953. And he got the role as a 55-year-old. So his views will be of that time. And to not represent those views in your interactions with that individual would not be fair to that individual, because his views, no matter how palatable or unpalatable they are today, made him who he was. So it's part of his character. So to just sugarcoat something and say, oh, the sun shone out of their arse all the time is just blatantly not true.
Well, but I don't think, David, I'm not going to speak for Matt, but I don't think that's what he's saying. But I have a question.
No.
Well, wait a minute.
That's not what I'm saying about Matt. That's what I'm saying about Peter Purves.
No, I know, but since I haven't heard it, I have a question. I want to clarify to Matt, just so I understand like where Matt's coming from, because I haven't heard it. So did you get the sense? I take your point and I agree with it that so many TV actors, movie stars, or whatever are inserting politics as if we care what they think about their personal political views. In your experience of listening to the podcast, did you get the sense that when Peter Purves mentioned these aspects about Hartnell, that you read it as, to use the phrase you use, kind of calling him out or on something, or was just mentioning it?
Virtue signal, as in I don't agree with his views, and I'm putting this forward that I don't agree with his views. He brought it up twice, Gary, and one he used it as a description, and the other one he used it as a point of reference that actually happened within his time. And it just really irked me. That was all. And I'm not asking for a piece of fluff. We get that all the time on the DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff. But I'm just to it only goes for half an hour, and really it just was not necessary. They could have said, some of the stuff that Maureen O'Brien said about him in the past that, she's changed her mind on now. She thinks he was a lovely man and everything. She originally, when they brought her back, she was just scathing of him and didn't like him at all. And you could really, really tell, she didn't like his teeth even. So it was, I just feel that it's nice that maybe he just wants to, maybe, I'm not saying that Peter Purves is one of these virtue signalers.
No, I understand where you're coming from.
I'm saying he's probably just trying to say, well, like Charlotte said, this is his point of view. This is from, and I think Gary said it as well, this is, he was in the mix. So he knows this is his sense of what William Hartnell was. and how he, how his daily life, how these sort of things affected his daily life away from the acting,
Yeah.
But he never treated, this is the ideal thing, William Hartnell never treated his fans like, oh, you're not a Jewish boy, are you? He never did anything like that. Whereas I think modern day, they would go, no, thank you. I don't want nothing to do with you.
Yeah. And,
But
and I would say
and that is wrong, Matt, that anybody should do that based on someone's background. That
they've already done it, haven't they?
But the thing is that's wrong. And the thing is about looking through the window of history is the fact that when Peter Purves was on the show, he would 60 years ago, he was 27. Okay, and Bill was 56. Well, a couple of years older actually. He would have been he would have been 57, 58 as well. So it's seldom that you would get two people of those different age ranges, particularly in a profession such as acting, which has very liberal leaning views, to agree on certain things, and especially in the 60s when it was very anti-Vietnam, very pro-liberal, and very man, as I like to call it, because people were doing things. If Bill wasn't of that mind, he would clash with that. So it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, but the government didn't play to the hippies, though, did they? The governments didn't play to the hippies, whereas today they do. In a way, they did, because they had Top of the Pops on. They had. They launched Radio 1 because Radio Caroline did.
The counterculture certainly became mainstream culture really quickly, and institutions got on board because obviously that's where the money was, that's where the trajectory was going. But I see the difference. Matt's talking, I suppose, more about sort of social pressures rather than popular culture, and I think there was a dividing line more so then in Britain than there is now. But I think that because the institutions, the establishment didn't understand the power, I suppose, of being able to weaponize and use popular culture and cultural figures in a way that they do now. I mean, we've just seen Gemma Collins be part of some horrendous thing just put out by the government, the Department of Education, which is unbelievably tone deaf, and so I think it's worse than ever. Yeah, I can see exactly what you're getting at.
Yeah, but all I'll say is every word from Peter, you got the sense that he absolutely adores Bill to this day. That he respects Bill and he's incredibly thankful for Bill. And near the end, that's when I started to get tearful, because he was talking about when Bill was leaving and when he was leaving and how that felt, and how the suddenness of, because I never quite know the full story about his exit, Peter's himself, and he went into that a little bit, and he said how Bill reacted when he heard the news that Peter was basically sacked and he was sort of being given his marching orders, and Bill's absolute anger, and how he was absolutely furious that they were doing this to Peter, and that's what it felt like. This was Peter sort of almost trying to pay back in a sense, and trying to sort of show through that love and respect how Bill has got this image of being very crotchety and very angry at times, and sort of being this sort of, those images are what's evoked a lot with Bill. And I think the power of this podcast was Peter actually dispelling a lot of that, and actually going against that and saying, no, he was this giving to me and to others, and how much he cared. And that's sort of where some of the anger came from, that he sort of said he got angry at himself for what stuff he perceived as not he was doing wrong. And the sort of the line that I was like, oh, I could feel what Peter was getting at, was when he was talking about he'd recently seen a letter that Bill had written to a fan, and in it he basically said, oh, I quite like the new boy, and I hope for years and years we work together. And then Peter, without like a second, went, God, and we should have had more years. And you could just feel that in his voice. So I just think the last thing Peter would want this to be is an attack. Is this to be seen as trying to denigrate Bill? I think this is for him with the utmost respect and love, doing like, this is all of Bill. I'm not going to hide bits of him, and there's bits which weren't perfect, but actually some of the stuff which has been put out about him isn't true, and I'm going to try and fight against those sort of images. Which have
I got the impression as well, Charlotte, and that what Peter was doing, David, was to try to do what he could as a man who, this is a guy who's just started publishing a podcast in his early to mid 80s, as a man who is more than aware of the times that we're living in, but also being similarly a man of his own time too. I think it was a way of him kind of building a bridge between maybe the 50s and the 60s, a time where he grew up, and the heroes that he had, the ambitions that he had, maybe the feelings, the insecurities. He talks about being a young father and a young husband at a very difficult time in his life with great openness. I think it was a way of building a bridge between that time and today, and perhaps suggesting that, maybe in all the ways that things have changed, that people are still fundamentally people, and that people have both good and not so good sides to their nature, to their character, and horses for courses, that some people get on with, just get on differently to others. I found it all very human, and again, results may vary, I suppose, with this, but I thought this was wonderful. Only half an hour. I could have easily listened to another half an hour, David. I have to be honest. But you can find this latest program and all of Peter's previous conversations on his website, on his home feed. There'll be a link in the description and the show notes here. And go and get over there and tell Peter if you've listened to this and you've enjoyed it, or if you've got any constructive feedback. From what contact that I've had with Peter Purves, he's more than happy to hear it. Whatever you've got to say about his output, he's really serious about this. And obviously, this is a man steeped in broadcasting history. And there's so many great conversations over there. So the audience that he's growing is very important to him. So go and connect on his social medias, and please tell him that Type 40 sent you. And in the meantime, we can simply do our best to hope to try and be somewhere near his standards in time on the Type 40 podcast. That's across all major podcatchers too, and our home feed at type40.podbean.com. New episode dropped just a couple of days ago. My conversation with Ed Stradling. Ed hasn't talked about Doctor Who in a number of years. A key figure in expanding Doctor Who in physical media. The man, or one of the men, a key person behind so many of the best of the special features. In fact, you could say that he innovated Doctor Who special features in the first place in around 2006, 2007. We owe this man a great deal, so much insight, a very wise man, a very experienced man. And he was very, very candid in his conversation with me there, not just about Doctor Who, but about other subjects and other shows and other possibilities for future projects too. So get over there to the home feed or across the podcatcher of your choice. We're right there as always. Let's take a break. Let's take a quick break before we head back with some more. This is the regular junction in the show where we furnish you with golden faces and golden voices from Doctor Who's long distinguished past. And here they were, flogging us all manner of bits of old tat on the Light Channel back in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the noughties even. So here's the Type 40 Live Doctor Who ad break. You enjoy the ads, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Regenerate with Doctor Who Monster Invasion. Magazine, amazing new trading cards, and brilliant gaming website taking you into a whole new dimension. The magazine is packed with facts, challenges, and awesome alien slamdowns, plus a guide to your amazing collector cards. Look out for super rare 3D cards that come to life on your computer.
Wow.
Play them, control them. Doctor Who Monster Invasion. Part 1 with 2 card packs and extra booster packs at newsagents now.
wonder what can be keeping him. Pardon, Your Excellency, but the people, they grow restless.
But my sunglasses! I can't find them! Where are my sunglasses?
Major Armando, we haven't heard of missing sunglasses to find. Perhaps I should inform the people that His Excellency is unavoidably detained.
Foster-grant sunglasses seem to do strange things for some people. Put on a pair and they seem to have just a little more self-confidence, a little more power.
Isn't it annoying when things get deleted by mistake and you lose them forever? Oh, Richard. Fortunately, TiVo from Virgin Media has the undelete function. So even if somebody deletes what was recorded, you can get it back. That's it. Hooray! Oh. Awkward. The collections from Virgin Media, including TiVo and superfast fibre optic broadband. Check out our latest offers online.
Have you ever wondered just who is responsible for generating electricity for England and Wales? Where does the power that's working your TV right now actually come from? Well, last year, if you added together all the electricity from everyone else's power stations, it would come to this much, about 56% of the total we need. So where, you may wonder, did all the rest come from? Let me enlighten you. It came from the power stations of National Power, the biggest single generator of electricity in Britain.
Peter's generated certain controversy here on the panel. Welcome back to your Type 40 Live, Rumble, X, YouTube and Facebook. As always, the past, the present and the future of Doctor Who, just not necessarily in that order or any order, come to think.
That's a good spaceship there that he's pointing to.
It is. It's very artistic. The 12th Doctor, very artistic indeed. Okay, so we're back. Our whistles have been wetted. I think our minds have definitely been stimulated, and we're all friends. Still, here we are. So, welcome back to the panel. Here they are. We've got Mr. Gary Akers here with his Batman cap on.
That's right.
I do love the caps. Charlotte Shields over there too. John. We've got Matt Pott here as well.
Still like Peter Purves. Don't send your hate mail to me, all right?
We know.
He still loves Steve.
I still like him.
Don't turn off your lights, Matt.
Come on.
David
I hate
Millings,
the other bloke.
David Millings had a break in between making extraordinary things in Lego to have another chat with us.
Can I just say thank you for showing that advert of the old Wembley. Oh, we so miss the Twin Towers. Such a crime that they took the Twin Towers of Wembley down when they rebuilt it.
And you know what? I actually think that great Delgado commercial. I don't even know where you got that Delgado commercial. I actually think you can make that fit in canon. That was the Master, and losing his sunglasses and having the other guy take them is what turned him evil. So then he
it's a pisser when someone nicks your sunglasses.
Showed up in Terror of the Auton. So I think you could easily slot that commercial into canon.
Don't steal sunglasses, kids. It pisses people right off.
That's right.
Gary, if we can have the Feast of Stephen, we can have that idea you've just said.
Yes.
Yeah, who'd have thought it? Who'd have thought it? The Master losing his sunglasses is where it all started. Thank you, everybody in the live chat. Clara looks very pleased with herself, says Bill Silver. Well, who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be? We've got Tom asking me what's my favourite Cyberman design. I think we've been over that several times. Different subjects entirely, Tom, but I hope you're having fun, whatever it is you're building this week. Bill hasn't seen that advert with Roger Delgado before. And Matthew Panda says, I wish we could delete you. Me? Well, that's very nice, isn't it? Thank you. It's good to see you too, Matthew.
I think he was talking about a Scottishman.
Oh, I see. And Stephen Braddock says, I am usually referred to as the Master. Yes, El Presidente. So people really like that one. Yeah, we have played it before, and we'll be playing it again. I don't doubt. Okay, and yes, back to the present and the future here with Matt's favourite person, or one of Matt's favourite people. This should be fun. Now, who's missed Shooty Gatwa? Don't all shout at once.
Me.
Okay, yeah, I thought it might be something like that. So, the 15th Doctor last appeared on our screens nearly a year ago. Shooty Gatwa is hardly a shrinking violet. He's been on the stage and in a couple of movies in sort of blink and you'll miss them parts in the time in between. Here he is checking his small change. I think we best gloss over that.
I've never heard that called before, but that's fantastic.
But he has resurfaced in popular television in recent days. Shooty Gatwa was the surprise, I think, host of the season finale of what's been a successful production from Sky. That's a rarity in itself. It's their British take on the long-standing American institution, Saturday Night Live. They've reworked it and relocated it and restaffed it, certainly, for a British audience. And just as is customary with the American versions, we've spoken about this before, the hosts, they change, with each subsequent episode, and they're actors and pop stars and cultural figures and things like that from British popular culture. Most of the lineup for this initial series of Saturday Night Live, I'll be honest, I've never heard of any of them, and I intended on giving this a wide berth anyway. I didn't think this was for me, but as it turns out, a couple of weeks ago they did put out a quite harmless, a sweetly harmless Doctor Who spoof. That was a couple of weeks ago. The guy in the sort of the cross between the Colin Baker and the David Tennant Shooty Gatwa style outfit there. I thought that was pretty good. And last week we saw more, didn't we? We saw a trailer. That's it, a trailer for the finale, which yet again traded on more Doctor Who tropes. So I suspect there's one or two actual proper Doctor Who fans here on the team that are making this show, maybe in the performers as well. But yeah, Gatwa was the host this week, as promised, and he made Gary as modest an entrance as one would expect.
Oh, God.
I suppose this is why they booked him. You don't book Shooty Gatwa and not expect him to do this stuff. So he comes in all smiles and lots of energy and wiggling around and squeeing and all that kind of thing. But minutes later, he got himself into some proper bother. So the format is that everybody who's the host, I gather, Gary, opens the show with a 3-4 minute monologue. Is this standard on the American version?
Yeah, there's normally, the way it works in the American version, I actually didn't watch this particular episode. My therapist said it would be counterproductive. But the way that it normally works is they have a skit to open the show, kind of like a cold open. Normally, a topical. It's usually like more of a topical skit, not like a long involved skit. By 4 or 5 minutes, and then at the end of it, whoever's doing it, turn to the camera, live from New York, it's Saturday night. And then they go into the opening with all the credits and the music and everything starring. And then they rattle off 30 names of whoever's in the cast. And then, at the end, the announcer goes, and here's Shooty Gatwa. And then they'll cut then to this set and he'll come out. So this isn't the very start of our version. This is kind of like the first post credits scene in every episode.
Yeah, Shooty sort of announced himself really in the usual kind of way you would expect. Largely it went as I was expecting it to go, I've got to be honest, David. So he does a lot of wiggling around, doesn't he? He's wearing as little as he possibly can. He's a very energetic character. He's got bags of personality, looking on the upside. Personally, I doubt if I'll ever seek out any of his work from this point on, or any of the stuff that he did before he was in Doctor Who. But obviously, this is definitely going to have made the radar of a lot of Doctor Who fans. And certainly for about 48 hours, it was all that anybody was talking about. Because on the surface, everything is sort of very glitzy, and it's all sort of bright teeth and big gestures and big jokes. But what I didn't expect, because as I gather, again, part of these monologues is that anybody who comes on and does them does mock themselves up to a point. But what I didn't expect was for the comedy to be pointed so definitely in Doctor Who's direction. You know, we've got a few quotes. We've got a few quotes coming up, because obviously this isn't made by the BBC, David, but Sky's been around a long time. It's not some sort of guerrilla broadcaster or anything that's connected with counterculture in any way. It's part of the establishment, in my view. What's your perception of it?
Yeah, Sky's owned by Comcast, very much part of the establishment. And Sky News itself used to be quite right-leaning, now has gone left-leaning after the takeover of Comcast. They're quite brutal in their assessment of things. And essentially, they are very much, I would say, along with Netflix and Amazon, along with partly responsible for producing a lot of new stuff through Sky Atlantic, and Sky One it's been rebranded now back to Sky One now, and we're back with Sky One, and they are very much part of the leading sort of production outfits for the UK and bringing new stuff to TV. So yeah, I firmly believe that if there was a joke to be made at the expense of one of its competitors, that joke would be made. And what better to get the leading man that appeared in that to point the finger if you're a rival broadcaster? Why miss that open goal, so to speak?
Matt, is there an Australian version of Saturday Night Live?
No, thank God. No. No, to be honest, I mean, Saturday Night Live in America never ever got broadcast here. At least from where I'm sitting, it never got broadcast. Maybe it did very early in the morning, but no, it's not a format that really worked. We did have live variety shows here, and there was one particular one, but there was no swapping of a host. And to be honest, we don't have the celebrities to actually come on. It's not like, we had Mel Gibson one night and then the next following week,
Hogan.
we never had any of that. Paul Hogan had his own show. So it was, we just didn't have the celebrities that we do, we do now, It's not like we're going to have Kate Blanchett on this week and then another week, someone else. So, yeah, we just don't have that.
I think it's pushing it to call Ncuti Gatwa a celebrity. I mean, the profile of this guy, I would argue that it's lower than it was before he started doing Doctor Who, which is a feat. Which is a feat in itself. This clip is up in full, this monologue, up on the YouTube channel, Charlotte. It created quite a stir. Have you caught it? Did you see this?
Yeah. Well, I saw basically the articles and people saying, wow, he's done swipes at Doctor Who. And a bit of me beforehand was like, they might do some very general swipes. Like, not make it targeted was my guess before. Because like we've all said, even if they're a competitor, they're still part of the entertainment industry. And if you think about how during Jodie's run, it was just as much of an opportunity for people to take the mick and to make jokes. But nobody did. It was like this sacred sort of cow, wasn't it? That nobody could say anything. And even when like the viewing figures were black and white, absolutely terrible, the worst they'd got at that point, they were still all acting in the access media, in the media in general, as, oh no, Jodie's doing fine, she's doing brilliant. So I was like, are they gonna? This is
because Charlotte, the steepest decline. Even though viewing figures are now way lower than they've ever been, the steepest decline and over the most prolonged period was under Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall.
Yes.
That's still the case.
And not once was that ever uttered by people who were working in the industry during those years. And it, like I said, it was this weird like wall of silence is how I would describe it. And I've seen bit by bit this thing with Russell's current run. It's okay to criticise. It's okay to give a bad review. It's okay to highlight the viewing figures. But for me, this was sort of the test almost to, if they do general swipes, then that's safe. If they do anything that's very clearly aimed at Russell's run, then that's more actually the industry being a bit honest.
Yeah.
I'm not saying suddenly they're going to be like, everything's honest, but just even admitting some fault, I think says a lot to you. And that's what I took from this monologue.
Let's acknowledge, too, that in recent weeks, one of the biggest cheerleaders for Saturday Night Live UK publicly on his Instagram account has been Russell T Davies. He was in the audience when they broadcast that spoof a couple of weeks ago, if you remember, Gary, and he was lavishing them with praise. Throughout the entire run, he's been saying what a brilliant show it is. He's been mysteriously quiet since the weekend. Variety went with this big headline. Again, you couldn't get more establishment than Variety.
Yeah.
Ncuti Gatwa takes aim at Doctor Who in Saturday Night Live UK monologue. And yeah, I think he doesn't. Okay, let's establish the
What is
facts
he doing?
here.
What is he doing? Like Hamlet there? What is
Yes,
that?
he is.
He wishes.
Gary, he's done Shakespeare in theatre before, so that's what that
His
gag's
monologue,
probably.
Gary, acts as a kind of, as an elevator pitch. I got the impression, David, he was trying. If any casting directors were seeing it, they just happened to be watching it. It seemed to me that it was his elevator pitch to say, "Look, I didn't just play the Doctor Who that you're going to forget about. I didn't just do this, didn't just do that. I am a serious actor, honest. Here I am, giving you a quick blast of this, that, and the other."
In terms of, let's not forget two things. One is that the writers of the show write the monologue. Obviously, I think if they came up with something, and I would think that that's true for the US version, if they came up with something that the host was just really uncomfortable with and didn't want to do, I think that it would probably be out. And also, let's not forget that just a few weeks ago, she was crowing about how great it was to be in a writer's room that respected him. So clearly he was on board with whatever digs these writers came up with. I would have loved, when I first heard about some of these comments about, only 12 people watching, it was like, yeah, shoot, you wish. But I would have loved.
I asked a few people about this, Gary, and because I wanted clarity about who writes what and to what extent. I was unsure, because obviously I know there was a writer's room. That part of the format is that there is a writer's room on this. That's the case with a lot of any kind of comedy sketch show. Never mind a live one. So okay, there's a writer's room. But what I was interested in was whether the people in the writer's room, the writers themselves, were the actual performers, the people who perform, like the gentleman who performed as the Doctor in the spoof sketch, and the various. If it was them that were writing it as well, but apparently it's not. They have input too, but it's a dedicated team of writers who remain largely off camera. The cast have some input, and the guest host of the week joins the cast. So it is a communal thing. And you're quite right. Ncuti Gatwa would have been given this material beforehand, and he would have had to approve. And I would imagine that his agent would have probably had to approve every word that had left his lips.
Dan, can I just ask, and maybe Gary can help me with this one. So are these filmed in blocks with other Saturday nights? Because the reason why I ask is that the bird who was in the Doctor Who skit was also back in the audience for his show. So I'm just wondering if it was the same nights, whatever.
No, they are. It is live.
Apparently,
she is also for a gag.
Apparently, she's also in the cast, or was in the cast of Sex Education. So it seems to be the novelty of seeing them together was part of the appeal. I don't know if this is a usual thing, but yeah, it's billed as a topical show, so they can only make one a week if they're going to keep the material sort of on point. how on point Doctor Who is at the moment. I'm not entirely sure. And I'm still not really that sure why they got Ncuti Gatwa. Maybe they felt that they had some good material. Maybe they felt that he would be up for poking fun at himself. As I say, I believe that the people working on this show must be Doctor Who fans. And Ncuti does go along. He does go along with it. So we've got, you've probably all seen this by now, but let's just recap. So Ncuti, as part of his monologue, said when he was introducing himself, millions of you watched me as Eric in Sex Education. He lives a pause for a round of applause, and then follows it up with, and about 12 of you watched me in Doctor Who.
Oh,
and only
maybe that's why I kept crying, he said.
So I thought that was a great gag.
These are just a couple of sentences here, so it's not much at all, but there's a hell of a lot in there. Obviously, as part of a writer's room, David, every word of this, even before they put it to Ncuti, will have been very, very carefully considered. Obviously, they can't guarantee every gag is going to land because some of these guest hosts might not have great comic timing. But this feels very, very targeted. And whilst I wouldn't say it's biting satire, it's very clear that whoever the writers are on this, they know what's happened with Doctor Who's popularity broadly, and I get the impression they're aware of what the fan base were talking about as well, because the general audience had noticed that nobody was watching the show anymore, but it was only the fans that were talking about the crying. Because it was every single episode. So I was really surprised to see this. So what about you, David?
To be fair, no, I wasn't, because I've spent a lot of my life liking these sorts of cutting edge, I say cutting comedy. Like, for example, Have I Got News for You? I was hoping they would go down that line. I was hoping they were going to go down the line.
Excuse me, though, David. I've got to stop you there. Have I Got News for You used to crack jokes like this 30 years ago, but it doesn't anymore, does it? That's really heavily sort of institutionalized itself. The jokes, when I catch it, are very, very safe. They've lost that kind of acid that they used to. And I felt that brand of comedy had completely left the entertainment world.
I think with Have I Got News for You, because it was fresh at its time, and it was competing against the likes of Spitting Image, then I think that as time goes on, the gags become less impacttive. But Ian Hislop, particularly, and Paul Merton, when he's not phoning it in, are actually still quite biting, and some of the special guests that they have on can.
Do they make jokes at the BBC's expense or any institution's expense? Oh, they do.
They do. Not as
TV News.
I think because Have I Got News for You has become established now, and for years it was not established, but because it's been on our screens for 36 years, people have got used to it.
When I see those two guys sound like a couple of old fools.
Well, because that essentially they've become like old fools. So, but it's like when Spitting Image did that thing of Paddington Bear on acid with Prince Harry. People are saying, "Oh, that's outrageous! That's outrageous." Actually, that's really funny. Because it's actually being quite dangerous. And it was quite cutting because the makers of Paddington Bear saying, "We're going to sue you, if you carry on with this." So the fact of the matter is that what they're trying to do is actually just go, we are going to poke fun and we're going to show no mercy. And so I saw that from some of the clips of Saturday Night Live I've seen recently, and that's what I feel is fresh. Yes, some will hit, some will miss.
Yeah.
But because you're in that sort of environment, you want to have a sort of, I don't know, 75%, 80% hit rate. if I know that the American Saturday Night Live still has hit and miss stuff, and that's been going for 50 years, and it's always had hit and miss stuff. But
it's part of the nature of the beast of the quick turnaround, I would imagine. Have I Got News for You? Drop the Dead Donkey. All those shows, all that had that kind of short window between writing and recording, have always not struggled with that as such. But it can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing in some respects. And I think we as audience members kind of roll with it. But this goes back to the spoof from a couple of years ago as well, and with this editorially, you and I both know, David, that as British people, we are traditionally, collectively, very, very comfortable laughing at ourselves, poking fun at one another, literally, personally, ourselves. It's part of the British sensibility to not take ourselves culturally that seriously. I think that's why the Carry On films took off. I always maintained the Carry On films weren't really about bums and boobs. They were about inept British people trying to do things to the best of their ability and failing. And I think that but I believe that we'd got to the point where we'd become not polluted as such, but I think our schedules have been full of so much comedy from elsewhere in the world, but particularly America. We'd kind of lost our national identity, and we'd lost that when we were losing that sensibility. And so to see it here, in place here, certainly with what Shoot is saying, I don't know whether the previous hosts have cracked similar jokes at their own expense, but I'm quite heartened to see this kind of brought back.
Yeah, I love it, and this is why I think it really hit a success. I watched the whole show. I just didn't watch the clip, and I really enjoyed the whole show. Some things I felt landed better than others. Some things I would have liked to have seen more of. Some sketches went on too long, and some were. I mean, seeing Shooty dressed as Shrek was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I've got that coming up later as well.
Brilliant.
We've got some of the other stuff. We've got some of the stuff coming up later.
That was one of my favourite things in there. So you've got a look to do to that. But I just thought, for me, my favourite sketch was the one that followed the monologue, which was about a for-profit gospel service, which I absolutely, a gospel choir service, which I absolutely howled through, and it was absolutely brilliant. And I think the fact that what you said about the fact that this pointing fun at things, this British sort of sense of humour coming out into the mainstream again, is a real positive, because it just says to people, don't take yourself too seriously, have a laugh at yourself, and be prepared if you do something that we think is a bit daft. Be prepared to be taken the mick out of. With
this, what I feel the writers have done, and I don't know if Shooty's conscious of this himself, but I think what the writers have done of Saturday Night Live is that they've looked at the situation with Doctor Who culturally. They've looked past. They've looked at those last two series. And I think they're placing responsibility with the people who made the show and pushing Gatwa as clear as they can. I mean, Shooty's not blameless in this. He was pretty terrible throughout most of it, but they're kind of pushing him clear of some of that and honing in on editorial and creative decisions, I believe, made by Russell T Davies. Maybe that's why I kept crying. Charlotte, a little while ago, you mentioned the reception to Jodie, and you're absolutely right. Even now, I think that most quarters still won't have it when you point out what a massive fucking disaster that was, despite all the huge amounts of evidence. But here with this, we have now, how many years on from Jodie's casting are we? So we're 8 years on from the casting, 7 years on from her debut and the free-fall beginning. Here we are now at a place finally where we can not necessarily point and laugh, but just because this is quite funny, but we can accept that Doctor Who, clearly there's an acknowledgement here that not as many people, a fraction of the people, in fact, who used to watch it, watch it now. And this is the first time I've seen that acknowledged or heard it acknowledged really in anything kind of mainstream.
Yeah, like you said, there's not a lot of quotes here, and they're not absolutely like having a complete and utter, let's completely destroy Russell's writing.
No.
But what it is, it's how effective acknowledging the viewing figures, acknowledging certain writing traits, which, like the crying, like the Billy joke, that's also is pretty quick after this, when he basically looks to the camera and says,
"Yeah, I've got that coming as well. I've got that coming as well."
I think the fact that those three things got broadcast, got said by the lead actor, and got a laugh as a response from the audience, because I've heard the audience response to these things as well, because I was like, that shows how much a joke has worked if you can hear your crowd laugh at what you're saying. The fact that all those things have happened, the other thing is, how quick has this allowed to be happen? Like you said, we still, part of the industry, can't take the mick out of Jodie, can't highlight her issues, but Ncuti's been out the job how long? And he can make these jokes? That's what I mean. It shows the utter failure of, and I agree with you, I think some of this is being done to make Ncuti look less guilty. And I've always said about Ncuti, he was part of the issue, but there was a lot of other factors around him which really made any chance of him having a success a lot harder. The fact that Russell, I think, had a very clear image of the Doctor Ncuti was going to play. He had very clear things he wanted to be part of the identity of this new run. And that Ncuti wasn't allowed to have his sort of wants as an actor at times met. I've always thought that, to be fair, with this run.
Gary, what I was wondering.
Well, wait a minute, Matt. Go ahead. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
that's all right. I'll just quickly say, I did watch this and I didn't find these funny. I found them more of a statement of fact than funny. However, there were aspects to this monologue that I found funny, but they had nothing to do with Doctor Who. Maybe it's because I am so invested in Doctor Who that I just felt that that's not a joke. It's been treated as a joke, but that it's true. That's the problem. But yeah, sorry, Gary, go for it.
Well, no, what were you going to say?
What I wanted to know, Gary, was, I mentioned earlier on about British sensibilities, and just like Matt was talking about Australia, the Saturday Night Live, the American Saturday Night Live has never been shown here that I'm aware of. I've certainly never seen it in any kind of regular slot. So what I was wondering, is this kind of comedy, you say a very British way of laughing at oneself, is this typical of the kind of jokes that would be incorporated into a monologue in the American version?
Yeah, normally, again, I haven't been a regular viewer for a long time, but I know that a lot of the people they get on as the guest hosts are either, normally it's kind of like a tie-in to maybe like a movie they have that's either just come out or about to come out, so they're kind of promoting that, or somebody they meet. For example, they've even had people like Patrick Stewart host because who are well known. A lot of times they'll have people who started out on Saturday Night Live and who hit it big and who come back as guest hosts, like Will Ferrell, I think, was just a recent guest host here a couple of weeks ago. So it's like a show alumni will come back as guest hosts. So, and a lot of it is just kind of self-deprecating. I think that they try not to have the jokes be too deep dive, obviously, because they want to have everybody kind of know what the joke means, what it's about. To where, not to where the joke is like so deep that only people who were closely following that particular person or whatever will get it. I think they try to keep the jokes general enough.
The crying thing, Gary, that was something that specifically annoyed the people who watched week in, week out.
Yeah,
it's not something that people who would have seen one or two episodes would be particularly conscious of.
Yeah, I agree. So I have to agree with your conclusion based on that, yeah, one of these writers or more followed the show enough to where they knew that that was a thing, or maybe if Ncuti was in the writer's room, he should have said, well, one of the things that, came up all the time is my doctor was crying all the time. Could you throw in something about that? You know what I mean? He could be there as like an idea type of thing where the writers could go, oh, so tell us like things about your doctor, because I never watched the show. What was your doctor known for? Oh, crying, this, that.
My instinct is that came from the writers. Again, I don't know that, but that was just my instinct through listening to the rhythms of it.
Yeah.
But I do believe that Ncuti Gatwa probably insisted on following it up with this next phrase, where he said, joking aside, it was genuinely a magical role. I think that's something that Gatwa himself wanted to make personally clear, whether it was a way of slapping Russell on the back and saying, I'm only pulling your Blanca, mate, or a signal to the fans who are going to turn up and see him at a Comic-Con and pay him hundreds of pounds to have him sort of scribble something and whatever. I get the impression, because this felt awkward in the midst of this, and all of this took 40 seconds to deliver, but to me this felt tonally incongruent with the rest. So I believe Ncuti was the person who will have asked for this to be put in.
Well, and yes, and probably so. You don't want to do if you stick the knife in, you just want to say, oh, okay, just kidding. I hope you don't bleed out too quickly. But it would have been just as good as if you would have said, joking aside, I was really just kidding with that whole touch grass thing, something like that. But I
don't think he even remembers saying that touch grass thing. But I think that's something that we have internalized.
Overall, and I may be reading too much into this because it is a comedy show and it's tough to know, like, what to pluck out seriously from what is basically a comedy show. But my read on all this is a little different. I actually think that on one hand, you can look at it that the state of the show in the public consciousness has been so damaged right now by RTD that even Ncuti Gatwa has to joke about the conditions. And these aren't jokes about, like the charming tropes of the show, like the wobbly sets or the Daleks not being able to climb stairs. That kind of soft humor actually was what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, with their Doctor Who sketch. That was kind of like a soft kind of joking about the tropes of the show that everybody kind of laughs at but still finds charming. Now they're making jokes about how no one watches the show anymore because they just don't care because it's become so bad. That's different. That's not joking about and so the writers can say, look, nobody's watching the show. Everybody's fleeing from it. Let's just go with that and make a joke about how no one is watching the show anymore. That's different.
He finishes off with this, again, short aside, even though I regenerated into Billy Piper and Falls the Face. Again, that gets a certain degree of chuckles because that was a culturally relevant moment for all the wrong reasons, and says, I don't understand it either, which gets
that's an RTD dig.
A double-barreled laugh. I think this is the brand of humor, and this is where I think things take an almost sour tone, Charlotte, in that Doctor Who, yes, it may not be as cheap as once it was, but it's effectively dismissing it all as mumbo jumbo. The very last thing that we saw as total, unintelligible, cheap mumbo jumbo, which obviously, again, isn't Ncuti Gatwa's responsibility. He was told, just stand there wearing that and throw your arms out, and that's that.
Yeah, I said this a while ago. I think it was last stream, when, technically not a lot of people watched that scene happen on their television screens on the night, but it was what it's caused afterwards. I think this whole Billy Piper stunt will go down as one of the worst decisions the modern run has ever done, because it's the ultimate cheapening of regeneration. It's the ultimate sort of slap in the face of, we don't need to cast anymore. We don't need to look for anybody anymore. We can just call up a friend, and with really bad CGI, their face can appear. And I think that's what Russell has done now, that this Billy Piper moment has become the universal thing for everybody to laugh at. And I don't think that's happened before. There's been stuff as fans we've laughed at. There's been stuff that maybe, like you said, with a bit of charm and a bit of, oh, that's a bit daft, but it's Doctor Who sort of logic. This has become the show ultimately eating itself in the worst way.
And also, Charlotte, he recorded his part of the regeneration scene in the late January. Billy didn't shoot her bits until May. And so I wonder, Shooty probably saw that when we did.
Yeah, and he's probably just as surprised as the rest of us, because he'd done his bit, he filmed his stuff, he was out of contract, and he was probably trying to think about what's next for me, which, of course, every actor does that.
Yeah.
So I think this. I think, just because I do have to go in a minute, I think it's the way he said it and the look of just, yes, this is utterly ridiculous. Doctor Who's in this point, we all know it, sort of sentiment. And I think that's more damaging. And I think that's why the silence right now, with that being the last thing and the last conversation point anybody's going to have about Doctor Who right now is, do you remember when they had Billy Piper and bad CG? Like, that's the lasting talking point until we get it resolved.
It's going to be on one of those TV moments from hell on Channel 5, isn't it?
Yes,
it's going to when TV goes wrong. You know, it's I don't know anybody who, even the people who love the show and love Shooty's run, who like this ending. It is become universally mocked, and rightly so, because it was bad.
Yeah,
it was comically bad.
And I think, like I said, that's until we can get out of that moment on screen, it's not going to fix itself. And this overhanging mystery, which maybe at the time Russell thought, this is brilliant, people are going to talk about it, and people are going to theory about it, and they're going to have their little discussions online about it. It's just become, right, can we just get past this and just forget it's ever happened? So, but like I said, overall, I think it's just very telling that this monologue, even though, like I said, it's not a complete, I think the Dead Ringers was more biting. It was more of a takedown than this. But it's more, like I said, the fact that it's gone out on mainline TV as part of the industry, and now it's okay to mock Russell's writing, which a couple of years ago, do you think that would have been allowed? Yeah. That's sort of my ending thought, I think, for all this.
Well, this is the first time. I think this is the first time. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen things turn around for Russell T Davies sharply in the last 2 years as regards popular appeal. And the man was clearly, in my view, my take on it was that he was struggling on a personal level 12 months or so ago. But now we're seeing the first, in a 30-plus year career, the first official widespread clap back on decisions that man has made, and an acceptance of where he's taken Doctor Who, Charlotte. But thank you for that. I know you couldn't wait to talk about this.
Well, it's been lovely to sort of have a big range. Like I said, we've talked about classic, we've talked about the Peter stuff, which emotionally I really got affected by that podcast. So I really wanted to talk about that and this, because I think it's important more for what it says about the state of the industry and where Doctor Who is right now. Yeah. But Matt, it's lovely that we've had a good disagreement. and that we can
Oh, you know
discuss
me.
it.
I love you, Charlotte. So yeah,
Same.
no, there's
no, it's good. I think that's what we all need, to have different views and to be able to discuss it, and we did tonight.
and respect each other too.
We do, and I do respect you and anybody else who felt similar about the podcast stuff with Peter. But it's been lovely, and I will see you all very soon.
Good night, Charlotte. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Just really quickly, I do want to say that it's on all these type of shows. Like I said, I think they target the jokes to aspects of whatever they want to talk about, a particular host or what's going on in the world or whatever. They target the jokes to things that people are aware of so that everybody can be in on the joke. That's why these, not only the shooty jokes, but anything else, they're never like so deep dive that they don't want people's reaction to, wait, no, I don't get it. What are they talking about? So they go, and I say, so bearing that in mind, I think it's very sad. Now, bear in mind, any opportunity for RTD to get embarrassed, believe me, I'm all on board for it.
Yes.
But it just goes to show that the things that about Doctor Who collectively, that the writers think, okay, when people think of Doctor Who, what should we say? Well, what do they know about Doctor Who now? Well, the fact that nobody watches it, and there was a really confusing thing with Billy Piper that nobody understood. The fact that those are the things that these people thought, okay, that will connect with our audience, they'll get
if we've
that
got
joke,
3 minutes to remind people where they've seen this guy before.
Is really kind of depressing, because it's like, what's the show most known for now? A show, it's known for nobody watching it, and it's known for a stupid ending that nobody understood. That's really bad, because then how do you come back from that with anything?
With any dignity at all? I mean, I think I escaped from talking about this with more credibility, acknowledging the fact that I don't know who any of these people are on this show. I don't know who Holly Humberstone is. I don't know who any of the other hosts really are on this show. It's
that is a horrific outfit. The woman on the left, that is a horrible outfit.
That's like that's what I was just saying. If it was a skin tone or what, she looks like she's got very wrinkly skin. But then
no, you know what it is? It's like that reminds me of stuff like, when I was like a kid in grade school, we used like some paper mache thing for Thanksgiving or something.
Yeah,
that's the kind
it
of
looks
thing
like she's wearing a drape.
I'm happy that this show has succeeded, it would seem, on the surface. The second season is on the way. And if it's, again, looking at the Doctor Who sketch, I thought that was nice. I thought it was harmless. I thought it was very sweet. And if it's bringing back comedy, because there hasn't been a lot to laugh about in Britain lately, if it's bringing back comedy, and particularly the kind of comedy where it's okay to laugh at ourselves, that has to be a good thing. That's just going in the right direction, bit by bit by bit. But of course, it's this acknowledgement that Doctor Who at the moment is the least popular it's been in decades, maybe even ever. Not a great reflection either on Shooter Gatwa himself. Again, only about 12 of you watched this. If things have gone better, not just Shooty, but Millie Gibson and Varada Satu would be household names by now. And they are kind of becoming already, the dust is gathering on this and their contributions. I mean, Millie Gibson in particular, at times she was superb. There's no way of ducking that, and yet it's going to get forgotten by history because of it, so much of it being incomprehensible. I was amused to see Shooter Gatwa co-starring with Mr. Blobby in this. Now, I thought Mr. Blobby was on the TV, but was it before Shooter Gatwa was even born? I had no idea that Blobby still had any kind of cultural relevance. Obviously, he was Christmas number 2 about 33 years ago. Mr. Blobby was massive in the early 90s.
Tried to make him big here.
Blobby's still a thing, so that surprised me. But it is nice to see Mr. Blobby again. I paid £300 to meet him. Louis Theroux, too. Louis Theroux seemed to be in this in one of the sketches that David was talking about. Louis Theroux was a big deal 20 years ago. I get the impression most people have seen through this guy after all this time. Another mainstream stooge who it was within his power to have done something about a serious criminal a few years ago, and he didn't, and I'll never forgive him for that, in my opinion. But I think Louis Theroux is a fraud, and here he is on this. But I was more interested in this Shrek sketch here, which I haven't seen this. This isn't up on the website, but apparently,
it was a really funny sketch.
So David has seen this. So the premise of this is a satire on what's viewed as a trend. They pitch it, they frame it as a trend by mainstream Hollywood for putting black actors into green makeup. So obviously Cynthia Erivo, most notably in the 2 Wicked movies, and this sort of lines up with that. I mean, to me, one actress in green makeup doesn't make it a trend, but apparently that's what.
Oh, the Guardians of the Galaxy as well, Dan. Guardians of the Galaxy.
That got name checked as
Gamora.
well.
Oh, Gamora. Okay, fair enough. Well, that was 12 years ago. Again, I think one actress every decade. It's stretching it a bit, but this did interest me because, but yet again, here we are. I saw a clip where Ncuti Gatwa was commenting about the first black actor painted green to play James Bond, Shrek, that kind of thing. And David, you've seen this. I haven't. As I say, this hasn't been clipped. To me, this is again. I don't know if Ncuti was conscious of this, but to me, this gently makes a mockery of identity politics and kind of DEI casting. That's my reading of it. You've seen it, I haven't. Is that what it's actually about? And do you think that if the writers were conscious of that, is Ncuti Gatwa? Is this, again, him pointing back at people like Russell T Davies, who are so ideologically captured and so invested in DEI? Is this him saying, actually, I prefer if you'd have cast me because I'm me, rather than because I'm a black man, or because I'm queer, or because... What's your take on this?
My take on it was that it was a piss take of Hollywood, and a piss take of people, saying that it was kind of framed, and I hope I've got this right, and I apologize if I haven't, but it was kind of sort of like a piss take of the only way that a black James Bond will be acceptable is that if we put you in green and make you talk like Shrek. And they also brought out a Bond villain with a cat looking crazy. And they actually had Donkey in there as well. And dressed up in a donkey sort of thing. And Miss Moneypenny arriving. And
they threw everything in there.
But you see what I mean? It was just one big gag about the whole political
But in doing that, David, they are, in my view, effectively saying, isn't it about time we stop pulling all this DEI stuff? If we carried it through to the next step after the next, this is how ridiculous things could get. That's my take on this.
It was having a dig at the industry, basically just saying, this is how ridiculous things can get. Okay, so why not? Let's just take this idea, like all good sort of comedy. Excuse me, touch the mats there. Sorry. So let's take this comedy, and let's just see how far we can run with it. And this is take it to the extreme, the nth level, and make it absolutely absurd, which is partly poking fun at it was poking fun at casting directors. It was poking fun at that sort of thing, and directors, and everything like that. And that's why I found it funny. They as I said, they also had earlier on a gospels choir service that you could hire out to go to workplaces to absolve people from white guilt. So it is poking fun. It's poking fun at society today and the ranges that people will go to for a level of absurdity. So it's doing
so
what
fashion is
changing.
Fashion is changing. Then that's what I would take from that a cutting edge, a relatively cutting edge new comedy show, which is growing an audience and has been successful, is taking clean aim at DEI and identity politics.
I wouldn't say it's DEI. I would say it's just society in general. It's making fun out of society and the strange sort of things that previously people thought were taboo to laugh at. And it's just saying, well, we're just going to take a look at society today and we're just going to take the mickey and just point out several little things that people are getting a little bit too wound up about, and we're going to laugh about it. And I think that's really healthy. I think that nobody, and I think where society is in general today, is that people were too scared to take the mickey, generally speaking, because they thought they might get sacked, or they thought they couldn't joke about it, or they thought they might get cancelled, or whatever. And I think I'm very much on the line of what Ricky Gervais and other comedians have said, whereby nothing should be off topic with comedy, nothing should be off topic with satire. Everything should be on the same level playing field, and as long as you do it in a non-judgmental way, and you cover everything fairly, nothing should be off the screen and or out of bounds, even though some people might find it tasteless, offensive, anything. Comedy is, for me, I'm not a fan of Roy Chubby Brown. I can't stand his work. I think he should have been he sort of died out in 1975, but I defend his right to go and perform to an audience that wants to see him. And I don't think that things should be off topic. And I like the fact that they've taken time to take the mickey out of Hollywood casting and what's going on in Hollywood, and done it through the lens of Saturday Night Live. I think that's a really, really funny thing to do, because it's definitely important.
It's definitely a sea change. I think that, just as Charlotte pointed out, it's now okay to point and laugh and accept publicly that Doctor Who is in a bad place and that nobody watches it anymore, Gary. I think it's also getting to that place with the broader talking points that all of this nonsense that we've been a slave to culturally for 6 or 7 years, the best part of a decade, really, has been a complete waste of time and has caused division, has reduced culture, and had the total opposite effect which the idiots who concocted it all in the first place had in mind when they were trying to sell us on it all. We've got some comments here that are all over the map. I mean, not many people. Again, it's on Sky TV, Gary, so not that many people watch it. Saturday Night Live UK and I Am Your Servant says it's definitely not a comedy show. Ratings prove that. The ratings, again, we have to acknowledge this, considering the channel that it's on, that it's behind a paywall, it's a subscription service. The ratings for this are pretty good. It's good enough. Yeah. It's good enough that they've greenlit a second season, so it's clearly met their their desires for it, Gary, and only they know the boxes that they wanted it to tick, that what their imagined ideal outcomes would have been at the end of this first season. It's done a lot better than they thought, and I have heard a lot of positive talk about this show, Gary. It's nothing that, just like David said about Roy Chubby Brown, I don't find Roy Chubby Brown that funny. I don't find any of this that funny either. But I'm happy that these things are out there and could possibly thrive, because I want British comedy. I want comedy generally to come back.
It's not just okay, the number got this rating, that makes it a success. No, there's a million factors to this. It's like, well, are they getting the numbers versus their budget? Are they getting the numbers versus what was in that time slot a year ago? There's all those factors that can measure success. It's not just on the night, did it get this numbers?
Yeah.
Is it getting the right demographics that they want? Is it doing better than the lead-in show, and is it boosting the show that comes after? All those demographics factor in, which is probably why after the first couple weeks, I think they announced the second season, because they saw, okay, it ticked all those boxes, so we consider that a success, and all of that. And so I think Luke mentioned that it was only 8 episodes this season, so it's up to 12 next season. So they're adding in a few extra episodes. And this is what they do at the end of every Saturday Night Live for the US version. Everybody comes out on stage, to wave goodbye and hug each other, because they've all been rehearsing all week with that particular guest star and everything. And so it's kind of like opening night on Broadway kind of thing.
It's not like it's going to be sold on, is it? It's not going to be sold on to other channels, other countries or anything like that. So
I wouldn't imagine
what they've got, if you think you'd be happy with 100,000 people in England, that's apparently the average. I checked it up. Go for it.
I'm surprised they don't do a lot of Star. I'm surprised they're not doing more Star. I mean, that's like an obvious target. Why would they wouldn't be doing more?
Because they'll end up in prison.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Good answer, Dan. I'll go
serious. So if it's a choice between having to go Russell T Davies or Keir Starmer, Russell T Davies does not have the power to send the boys round and have you dragged away at 3 a.m.
To be fair, Gary. To be fair, Gary, the whole opening skit before the monologue was an estate agent showing various Labour leader candidates round number 10 Downing Street, and Sir Keir Starmer coming down the stairs telling them all to go away because he was dressed in pajamas and a nightcap, suggesting to people that he was watching Eurovision Song Contest final with David Lammy. So
that's very benign, isn't it, as satire goes? But I suppose it counts. Funky in the live chat says here, did I read somewhere that the ratings took a dive with the Shooty episode? Eurovision, too much of a crossover with the Eurovision audience. The live audience for Eurovision did significantly impact on the ratings for this finale of Saturday Night Live UK.
Really? I'm shocked.
I'm not surprised. I'm not that surprised at all myself. But
now to Matt's question, over here in the US, obviously, like all US network shows, on the off season, once all the new episodes are run, they'll do reruns like for the summer or whatever. But I know that a lot of the British shows don't do automatic reruns. They show it once and then that's it.
I was wondering for some of the content, Matt, that isn't, because obviously some of the sketches will be geared around what's gone on this week in the news, David. So I would imagine that some of the sketches would be more evergreen than others. So they could potentially take 5 or 6 from each show, repackage them for a best of Saturday Night Live UK. Boom, you've got that. Is that the kind of thing they would? Oh, it is. Okay, that's what I would do. So that's makes perfect sense.
I've seen a lot of classic SNL through packages and that sort of thing, like the best of a certain actor or something like that. Best of Eddie.
I had the shock of my life when I saw this picture there. I saw the dude with the white hair making his way towards Louis through there. I thought it was an old mate come to check up on him after all. Louis.
How funny that would have been if they pointed that out.
I have a question. That was from the Does Saturday Night Live UK, do they have musical guests?
Yes.
That's one of the big, because that's one of the big things they do.
Holly Humberstone was the musical guest.
Whoever that is.
Twice.
Yeah, Holly Humberstone sang a couple of interesting songs that I didn't particularly like. However, I'm not a huge fan of hers.
Well, see, you remember SNL always made it in the news here with the controversy, like Sinead O'Connor and those sort of incidents that happened during the live music sections. Nothing really during. No, that's happened a couple of times during the music stuff where the band didn't want to sing a particular song, or they had to talk over a tape or something, and they weren't happy about it. That's the only time that it's really ever made the news over here.
They have a news section where like the two news broadcasters are talking.
Yeah. That's why the guy was in the blonde wig, because he was pretending to be one of the phone jury people, one of the jury people from Europe in the Eurovision Song Contest. And he was playing a bit of a dumb, sort of Dutch jury member from Europe.
I thought he was that gentleman down in the corner there.
Over here, one of the two guys, one of the cast members, who's one of the two anchors for the news, SNL news section, as well as other skits and stuff. But for that, his name is Colin Jost. He's married to Scarlett Johansson. So there's a lot of times where even when she's not guest hosting the show, you'll see her like backstage tying into like something they're doing on the news thing, or she'll come out during the news. Even if she's not like the full guest host, because they take full on advantage of the fact that he's married to Scarlett Johansson. So there's a lot of stuff that kind of goes on on the US version.
Yeah, Martin Lewis popped up as a special financial news financial advisor on one of the news segments, so that's why he's in the picture as well.
It's interesting that this has been successful. Again, as long as I don't have to watch it, blah, blah, blah. But nothing is more subjective than comedy. Maybe even music. No, I think comedy probably is the most subjective thing. Saturday Night Live UK highlights can be streamed on their YouTube channel right now, including Ncuti Gatwa's monologue in full. I do wonder what Russell T Davies thinks. I don't think he's a happy camper when it comes to this, but I'd love to know if the air turned blue. We'll probably never know, will we? But he can restream Ncuti Gatwa's monologue over there as well. So just to recap, Ncuti Gatwa said, millions of you watched me as Eric in Sex Education, and about 12 of you watched me in Doctor Who. Maybe that's why I kept crying. You and us both, Ncuti, you and us both. Even though I regenerated into Billy Piper, I don't understand it either. That's where we are, folks. That's how far we have sunk. Ncuti Gatwa will go on to something else in time, I suspect. But yes, Sex Education seems to be the show that he is happier to be remembered for. I think I'm getting the impression that he believes that will be the show that is more likely to secure him further work than his time playing the Doctor on Doctor Who. And I would argue that it seems that the writers, certainly, and maybe even the cast of Saturday Night Live UK are probably Doctor Who fans, are only too aware of where the blame for its current fortunes or lack of them ultimately lies. Let us know what you think of Saturday Night Live UK if you're a regular viewer, and if you're going to be there for season 2. Obviously, Gary is just hoping it gets picked up over your side of the Atlantic.
Well, you know what? Honestly, Dan, based on this episode, I actually think she should just call Disney, and I think if they do a live action Shrek, I mean, clearly Ncuti's shown that he's a big contender for that. So I think that's the way for him to go.
He's got the chops, as they say. He's got the chops, hasn't he, Matt? To play an animated ogre, maybe.
No, not animated, live action. I want to see him. I want to see him on the big screen, looking just like he did in that skit with the little.
I honestly thought he'd play donkey.
If they were to remake Shrek now, they do it in the way they do it with mocap, I think, David. So they would get like Andy Serkis in his sort of onesie or whatever that was, in his morph suit. They'd pop Ncuti in one of those. I think he'd be perfectly happy. He's probably got about 50 of them at home in sequins or whatever. I suspect that he sleeps in something like that. So they would get him to perform as a Shrek or somebody else. I suspect that's where Ncuti Gatwa could ultimately end up, being a mocap guy who acts out in various sort of Smurf movies and things like that. I suspect that's where
he's not in a video game. God, I couldn't play as him. Ugh. No way. Looking at his butt all the time. Ugh.
What What do they call them in gaming, Matt? Is it skins? They call them skins. You can
Oh, yeah, they can have skins. Yeah.
wear a different character or something like that.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Change their costume and everything.
Is that a bit like is that a bit like Hungry Horace Goes Skiing? That's the last computer game I played.
And as, we've been talking about, we talked a little bit about it earlier in this show, like missing episodes. In addition to getting any of the missing episodes back, the one thing I would really most like to see is the video of Russell's reaction as he was first listening to that monologue. Just covering under missing episodes, that's the video I want to watch. It's his reaction.
To be a fly, to be a fly on the wall. It'd be great, wouldn't it? I'd love that. Oh, get a taste of his own medicine. Why not? Why not? Yeah, Saturday Night Live UK is over for the time being. It's back for a second season. I wish them well. We wish them well. I'm glad it's found its audience. Sky viewers seem very happy with this. I would imagine there'll be refinements between now and then when it comes back. And I suspect that there could be more Doctor Who content. It seems that they like it. That's the impression I get. I believe that they're fans. Certainly, I think that they're more likely to put out new Doctor Who before Russell T Davies does. Okay, so Doctor Who itself returns this Christmas. Maybe not. We're still not entirely sure about that. We're going to keep on top of that story too. There'll be more coming up in a few weeks' time. But in the meantime, we're going to be shuffling around the Doctor Who universe to take in what we can. But we are working on finding out some more. We are, in the meantime, yes, it's a waiting game, Anita. It's a waiting game that we're all playing, and we'll get there when we get there. You stick with us here at Type 40 Live, and you'll be the first. You'll be the first to know. Okay.
Hello, I'm Philip Roy, playing the Doctor in the Doctor Who fan film Doctor Who Meets the Scorpion. I've been on quite an adventure, and this is most definitely the Type 40 podcast.
Oh.
Take Russell in the bus.
So Phil's stone.
The young ones wouldn't get that reference, I tell you.
No.
What a show. What a set of conversations. What a week in the Doctor Who universe. I don't know. Where will it all end, Matt? Where will it all end? Hope you enjoyed being back with us. Hope you enjoyed being back with us for this one. At what time is it where you are now? About 6 o'clock in the morning? 6, half 6, something like that?
7 o'clock. 7 o'clock.
I was close. I was close. We appreciate you getting up.
I've had
to
lots of
spend
coffee.
time with us.
I've had 3 shots of coffee, technically. So, yeah. I'm good. It's been fun.
He looks well, says Peter Harrington. I think he's talking about you, Matt, not Russell T.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know, Russell.
Well, you know what? I just thought of something. Considering the fact that Russell T Davies takes selfies every 4.5 minutes and tosses them up on the Facebook because we're all so greatly interested in everything he's doing. Well, I would really hope then that he took a selfie while he was watching Shooty's monologue and post that up.
Oh,
so fake. So fake.
If only. If only. More comments. People, we haven't got too many fans of Saturday Night Live UK here in the live chat. That's not that surprising. Again, as Matt says, it's not got a huge audience. It's just the people who enjoy it are clearly going back each week. And the idea is that one would build an audience on a show like that, build loyalty, build a reputation, and then they refine their product. I would imagine that'd be what I'd want if it was my project.
Does Sky have the equivalent of an iPlayer where you can go back and watch the all other episodes?
Yes, they do, don't they, David? They've got theirs is quite sophisticated, isn't it? Because it's all tied to their sporting coverage as well.
Oh yes, it's all wonderful. And if you open up Sky, if you've got a dish, you get little sort of adverts for stuff floating along the screen, scrolling along. Like a slideshow of stuff you can watch again.
The only reason I mentioned it is because they're probably looking at those numbers too.
Oh yeah. That's how I watched. That's how I watched it because it came up. It was the first suggestion, Saturday Night Live, Obviously, Eurovision trashed the rest of television for Saturday night because people have watch parties. It's
always does.
It's one of those major events. I love watching Eurovision and Bangaranga. That's all I have to say. I thought Australia's song was lovely by the wonderful, gorgeous Delta Goodwin. She looked resplendent.
Yeah, we're part of the European Union. Didn't you know that?
Yes, I do know that. Being a completely different continent,
Thank you, brother.
But on the other side of the world, you're part of Europe. But
Bangaranga
giving it up was amazing.
You guys get in.
And we're trying to get away from the colonies. It's weird. It's weird. It's strange.
Well, work for us.
But if you want to see, if you want to see a brilliant trippy,
the revolution's coming, brother.
If you want to see a really surreal, trippy 3 minutes worth of a song, please watch the Greece entry. That was amazingly trippy. But Bulgaria's Bangaranga certainly is an amazing song. Very catchy,
like
annoyingly so. And a brilliant performance as well, and by a very attractive young lady as well.
I'm surprised they didn't repeat the Eurovision episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah, I was going to say they should. If they wanted to go meta, they should have just had a skit where like Shooty is
Dugadoo, or whatever it's called.
Dugadoo would have done better than the
earworms again.
If you
Dugadoo would have probably scored higher.
If you keep reminding me about that terrible episode of Doctor Who, you'll bring back my my you-know-what.
It was the highest rating episode, Doctor.
Let's gloss over that.
Dugadoo would have scored. Dugadoo would have scored higher than the UK entry of 1 point. I'm sure.
We want your tips on what we should have had our money on at Eurovision. If you were betting on the song contest, let us know whether you came away up on the deal, of course, and what do you think about the talking points on this edition of the show. More importantly, get in touch with us, the usual places, Instagram and X at Type 40 Doctor Who, or in the Type 40 Facebook group there. Lots going on at the moment. Lots of buzz about everything we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. The crisis affecting the Doctor Who Christmas special. Exclusive report here at Type 40 Live. We're still churning over all of that, as well as lots of breaking news stories. Some incredible fan art and fan projects, and the parry and the thrust of meaningful debate, and how can I put this? Exuberant conversation. Yes, that's putting it mildly. So get over there to the Type 40 Facebook group, roll up your sleeves, strap on a tin hat, and enjoy yourselves. Get us some feedback in at SpeakPipe, feedback of any kind, your suggestions, maybe your rants and your raves. It's all fair game there. The link is in the description. And if you want to relive this or previous editions of Type 40 Live, our recent exclusive reports or our regular news coverage, our deep dive into stories or seasons and key Doctor Who figures, it's all there in the playlist there. Over 290 shows now, Type 40 Live. Get stuck in and relive times past with us over and over again if you're game. There's the Type 40 podcast too. Brand new episode this week up on the podcatchers and our home feed at type40.podbean.com. My thanks to Ed Stradling. What a fabulous guest he was. Our conversation is enlightening. I think I thought I knew a fair amount about how they put special features together and how the topics and the themes and the formats are arrived at. But no, turns out I didn't. Ed explains it all. It's a fascinating, creative conversation. He talks about his Doctor Who connections as well. It's all in there. Get stuck in and then meet us back here for talking more Doctor Who, classic Doctor Who and new Doctor Who. And Matt, yeah, it's been great to have you back, mate. Thanks for getting up just to share this couple of hours with us, mate. It's very good of you.
No worries. No, thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
What's on your radar in the next couple of weeks? I mean, you're watching a lot of classic Doctor Who and animation and things like that. I mean, what's got you excited now? We've annoyed you somewhat. We've got you up to annoy you. You tell us about
No, not at all. No, I just I do not hate Peter Purves. Please do
Yeah,
not
we
send
know.
me any messages. But yeah, no, I am going back to watching. I am going back to watching classic 90s television, and there's some new shows that I've never even heard of before. And I'm like, there's a series that I found in the 1970s called The Sixth Sense, which no one's not even Gary had heard of. Oh, you remember it, Gary?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the 2 series are out. So I'm planning to watch those. It looks very interesting.
I've heard of that. I've never seen it.
No.
Bruce Willis was dead.
No, not that one.
Oh,
it's a TV series.
Oh. Okay.
Are you serious?
No. But no,
it's so hard to tell with Americans. They just don't know, and they don't understand sarcasm either.
No, that was I remember that was a show in the early 70s, I think.
Always loved the 70s.
People are reeling with the revelation that Delta Goodrum is still a recording artist. I vaguely remember her. I think she was putting out her first singles when I was starting to lose interest in music. So if she's
just as popular as Holly Valance.
Oh, we like a bit of Holly. She's great. She's a good girl. I like Holly. It's and Damon Walker here. Hi, Damon. Damon says it's a worrying state of affairs when the Murdochs are relied upon to provide British satire. That's why my hopes for Saturday Night Live UK were so low, both creatively and in terms of it being remotely successful and finding an audience. So it has surprised me. I'm not going to knock anybody for being successful in the things that they set out to do.
I didn't know that Murdoch's own Sky over there. I know that they own Sky over here.
They don't anymore, to tell you the truth. It's owned by Comcast now, but it's not. Again, most people don't know that. So yeah. What else? More. Oh, who brought up Dougadoo? Who was that? Was it you, Gary, or was it David?
No,
who brought up?
It was
you.
It was him.
Good God. I haven't laughed so much
Don't
since
go back.
I went to the dentist. You just know that Tom Baker was holding court in a pub somewhere when that picture was taken. Which picture? Which picture are you talking about?
He didn't show any Tom Baker pictures, did he?
No.
Not that I know of.
Probably of the 4 people holding the 4 doctors holding the telephones, I think.
I see.
Because he wasn't there.
And thank you, everybody, for all the comments. Whether they make sense or not, they don't have to make sense. We're perfectly happy. Nothing has to make sense. We're Doctor Who fans. I think we've established this. We've shooting Gatwa. Even he knows this. Okay, so we're right bang up to date, and we are back with more sooner rather than later. As summer sort of, I think it's sort of gradually beginning, David. It's sort of happening in fits and starts all over the country. I think we get a glimpse of it, then it buggers off, then it's back again. Summer looks like it's on the way, people, and with it will be more conversation here with us. Of course, it is. Keep watching. Make sure you're notified for more Type 40 Live next week. We go completely 90s mad, Matt. Funnily enough, it's the 30th anniversary of the Doctor Who TV movie. It gets re-released this time in HD and 4K, and we'll be here with some special programming just for you to mark that auspicious birthday. Who will be on the panel? What will we cover? Will the postman or woman bring yours in time? And of course,
have you got the steel book?
Most crucially of all, Matt, don't step on my gag. Crucially of all. See, I've been building up to this. Will the planet be turned inside out by midnight? That's the big question when it comes to the Doctor Who TV movie. Find out here at Type 40 Live next week, as well as the usual rants and raves with no party line, no beef and no bullshit. Just your rants and your raves, as always, where all opinions are welcome. So yes, Matt, obviously it's Friday for you already. We haven't done this for a while. You're a real-life time traveler. How is Friday looking for you, even though you're in winter there?
It's bleak. It's very, very bleak. I'm literally. I wish I'd been wearing. I mean, bare feet. Well, it's worse when you're down near Antarctica. So it's like, but we always get the chill. But like, I really wish I'd worn slippers. I really, really do.
See, this is why they don't do Saturday Night Live Australia, because it's always bleak.
We're
Never say that to
boring.
Bowles track.
Australian
Never say that to Bowles
comedy
track.
is boring now. I don't watch any of that now. It's just, it's not
Matt,
funny
I haven't
anymore.
watched British comedy for years. I mean, they claim they're making some, but I haven't really seen any, with the exception of Ricky Gervais's Afterlife show. I haven't seen anything that's made me laugh in years and years and years.
I gotta tell you, Dan. That's why one of the things, if you go on and you vote in the NTAs, I think there was like 30 different nominees for the comedy. I didn't know most of them, so there must be something going on.
But I keep being told that Amandaland is a good show, but I took one look at it. It's full of birds. Who's going to laugh at that? So I'm not going to be watching that.
Hilarious! It is hilarious. Absolutely.
I'm just joking, girls. Don't send me emails. I'm just
every time I hear of that, I think of Amanda Lamb for some reason. She was some British.
Amanda Lamb.
She was some
Amanda
British.
Lamb.
There was the Harry Hill song, Amanda Lamb.
Yeah,
Amanda Lamb.
You know who else got? The only thing I remember.
And so when everybody's
the only thing I remember, the only thing comedy nominee I remember, and I don't think I voted in comedy because I didn't know most of them. It was like Mrs. Brown's Boys was still being nominated for stuff.
Really?
And
I'm surprised that's still being made, let alone being nominated. I can't.
Well, I think even if it had like one episode, it was probably eligible for being nominated.
I think even if it had one episode, that was one episode too much.
Oh, okay. I do remember that was a nominee.
Oh my lord.
Bring back the 90s. That's what I say. Bring back the 90s. Funky in the live chat says, I'm trying to find an old British show called Virtual Murder. John Pertwee guest starred in an episode. Well, look, try no more. I've got Virtual Murder. Get in touch and I'll see what I can do. But yeah, Virtual Murder is a fabulous show from 1992. And you're quite right. John Pertwee was a guest star in one episode of that. And we've got lots more comments still coming in. The Four Doctors, but it is time to wrap up, everybody. I'm sad to say. David, we've kept you from your Lego for far too long. So are you very quick with Lego, or is it something like Jigsaws? You like to take your time and do an hour here or there? Or once you start, do you find it difficult to stop?
Well, I have to firstly say it's not Lego for copyright reasons. It's called Micro Designs. So it's Lego in everything but name. Okay.
Gotcha.
And it's taken me a lot of time over the last 3 days to do what I have done. And I'm not even a quarter of the way there. So it's afterwards. It's putting the dishwasher on and going to bed. So, but it's been lovely, thank you. And it's
the way to look at it, David, is that you haven't even had a quarter of your fun yet.
Yes, I know, but it is very therapeutic, and it is wonderful. Very therapeutic, and it does focus the mind, and you get slightly obsessed with finding the right piece. Which you cannot then find, and so then you have to go off somewhere. And the most irritating thing is it's like losing your keys. As soon as you come back into the room, you see that piece, and it's then fighting the desire or the to carry on.
Look at the joy on his little face. Look at that. If you could bottle that and sell it.
Christmas morning.
It's fantastic because I've got Lord's Cricket, which is 1,764 pieces of the most minuscule things, and then my daughter and my mother and my daughter conspired because my daughter bought me the Oval Cricket Ground, which is 2,700 pieces. So that's the rest of the year. Won't that take up as much space? Won't that take up as much space as that TARDIS that we had at the top of the show? You could have had that after all. Maybe if the pieces were you were able to hold the pieces, so they're that small that you actually need a pair of tweezers to. Because I've got fat sausage fingers, you need a pair of tweezers to sort of put some of the pieces in place. But it's still fun. I believe you. What can't speak can't lie. Look at the smile on his face. That's what I say, Gary. Thank you. Thanks, David. And cheers again for joining us, Gary. Pleasure.
Always happy to be here. I was kind of disappointed. I was really hoping that Russell might call in to offer his side of the story during our Saturday Night Live chat.
We reached out.
We could throw him up, but I guess he had better things to do. But no, this has been great as always.
Yeah, we'll have to reach out again, won't we, to Russell?
Yeah, push him out of the way, more like. But anyway, get your hands off me.
Oh, the mind boggles. The mind boggles. Okay, it's getting late. We're starting to talk even more nonsense than usual. Thank you, everybody, for all the comments in the live chat. Back next week. We can't wait either for the steel books or the 4Ks and the Blu-rays to drop and the TV movie phenomena to start all over again. 30 years. It seems like it was barely 30 days ago to me. I can't wait to talk about it. I can't wait to watch it and to explore it all again with you guys and everybody out there too. But that's it for another one. We always have the time, if you have the space, here at Type 40 Live. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Go well.